the I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.
Chandler Cooper, dude, welcome to the show, man.
Dude, thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
First of all, thanks for making the drive from Cleburne.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
like a commitment. Like when I found out you lived up that way, I was like, oh my God. I feel like the pressure's on to make it a good episode.
Dude,
since you drove down.
You know, I love Cleburne, and I've thought about moving to Fort Worth, but I'm like, I love the Burne.
If you like it, man, stick with it.
Yeah.
You know, like I grew up in a small town and I was ready to go. But I think if you love your small town, I mean, there's so many good things there.
Yeah.
And Cleburne, well, how big is it?
It's like 30,000 people.
Yeah, so it's a big small town.
It's a big small town,
Yeah.
but it hasn't like grown.
Pull that mic a little closer to you.
Yeah, sorry. It hasn't grown. What small town are you from? You from here?
Yeah, so Northeast Texas, they were small farm towns, like Copeville, Nevada, Farmersville. You ever heard any of those?
Farmersville, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Copeville was the town just south of Farmersville. And so I had the largest graduating high school class at my time, and it was 84 people.
Wow.
It was small town. So ready to leave because there's no, like, you either work at the feed store or you work at the gas station, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And then one of the main gas stations got hit by a tornado one year, and they just didn't rebuild.
Oh my gosh. Dude, we had right next to Cleburne's a town called Rio Vista. And Rio Vista, when they got their gas station put in, they threw a parade.
Oh.
And I don't know if it was as much of a parade or like the whole town just got together and walked around and had a cookout. But
Yeah, can you imagine that gas station owner, though, being like, this is a good sign.
Yeah,
This is going to be a good area.
Yeah. He's like, my life's about to change. He sits there.
Well, I mean, I know you saw that thing I shared in my stories. It's like, for funsies, I was like, let's just Google this name, see what comes up. And it was like, I don't know what this website was. It was like famous celebrity birthdays or something.
Yeah. There's a lot of spin-offs of nothing. I don't know.
But I loved the phrase of the rappers born, like specifically in, 1998?
Yeah.
In Cleburne, Texas. He is the richest and most famous of these people. And it's like, well,
I'm also like the most poor of all. You know what I mean? It's so funny. For those of you who are watching right now, if you look up my name, there's all these different net worth lies. And if you're listening right now, it's funny he says that because I'm actually wearing a $150,000 chain. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, dude, that's so funny because I remember the first time, it was like 2018 is when those started popping up, and I started getting messages from people I went to high school with asking me for money.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Whoa.
They're like, dude, can you just help me with like $500?
Wow.
And I'm sitting there at that point, and I'm like,
this is them assuming you're making this money off social media fame, right?
yeah, and off of rap,
Okay.
which
Okay.
makes no sense. But
So they're
seriously,
DMing you or texting you?
they don't have my numbers. Mostly
Gotcha.
it's just Facebook Messenger. Wow. But it was just people I went to high school with asking me for $100, being like, "Yo, can you just spot me? Like,
Yeah.
I'm good for it." I'm like, I haven't talked to you since high
You're
school.
doing so well, man. You can spare it.
It's so funny because like
That's brutal. And that's like a small taste. Can you imagine what like really super famous rich people get?
yeah, right.
That's got to be unbearable.
Yeah, but I remember just being like, "Hey, I don't like have that kind of money," and then them arguing with me, and I'm like, dude, like, I had just moved to LA when this had like kind of started happening. I just moved to LA, and I was finding my footing, and I had like $5 in my account. And I would screenshot, and they're like, "You're screenshotting a different account." It's like, I don't know you.
Yeah. And like, why would I go through the trouble? I could just tell you, fuck off.
Yeah, right?
Like I'm trying to be nice and tell you, I don't have this. I would help you. I don't have this.
Yeah.
But, well, I don't know if you would, but
I probably wouldn't for some of them.
because I wouldn't want to open the gates for everyone.
Yeah, some people I would, but some people I would not.
Well, you hear those stories about like an NBA athlete or something, and that's how they ruin it all.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's got to be so hard, though, to tell people like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have money, it's easy to be like, dude, I'm broke too. No.
Yeah.
But if you were to all of a sudden be worth what they're saying your net worth is,
Yeah.
telling people no, and then you close the door to the Porsche.
Yeah.
Like, sorry.
Yeah. I take off my other $100,000 chain. I have $500,000 on my neck right now.
But dude, that's one of the things I was really excited to talk to you about because Danny from Comedy for the Internet,
Yeah.
he was the one who hooked us up. And
Yeah.
so all I saw was music. And I was like, oh, I like the music. This is cool music. And then shortly after diving in, it's like, okay, apparently he does a lot of stuff on social media too.
Yeah.
He had this big run and everything. But it's deceiving, right? Because like you're probably like combined social accounts, you're sitting over 1 million followers, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So I would think the average musician, the average artist of any kind is going, oh, he's got it made.
Yeah.
Right? He's got all those followers. Like it must be easy now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's it like when you have those followers, but you're having to having to translate that to the real world also, of like real listeners, real concert goers.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. It's tough because I started doing Vine in 2013, 2014 when I was like 15 years old. I started doing Vine. My goal was to be like the next MagCon guy, which is a meet and greet convention. It's where Shawn Mendes came from. So I was a songwriter. I started writing songs in 2010 when I was in 7th grade, which is a crazy age, but like actually pursuing it, like actually like writing every day and then getting highlighters and highlighting the different syllables and rhyme schemes and stuff and trying to study myself and make myself better while listening, and so I started doing social media and found out I have kind of a natural thing for marketing. And I was like, wow, I could build any social media platform from the ground up. And that was something I was good at when I was younger. And I guess I'm just good at in general. And so the whole goal was to make the connections to be able to make music that I wanted to make. Because anybody can do like YouTube, like SoundCloud rap stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that because I did it for years. But I kept wanting to level up. And so I started growing the followers. And then in rooms behind the scenes for like people who are bigger than me, to get them to shout me out, I would write them a verse on a song, or I'd write them a full song, or like, so I was doing all this stuff. And then basically I came up with the idea for my project in 2021 called I Got Dumped, Here's an EP, LOL. And that's where I created the characters. And I created the characters to grow alongside so that while I'm creating my music, I can go live and showcase my music. And the video, I wanted it to be a thing where it's like somebody shares my video and they go, dude, have you heard the music? That was kind of the goal.
Yeah.
And to translate that. So I grew pretty rapidly while trying to push those people. And I didn't realize how in over my head I was until my first single for the album came out in 2021 called Eye to Eye. And when Eye to Eye came out, I immediately was called an industry plant, Walmart weekend, weekdays. I was just completely trashed for the music because I'd built such a stubborn comedy fan base.
Oh.
Because the comedy is like a ruthless, like...
So they want you to stay in comedy. They don't want you to be a serious musician.
Yeah, that's what they were. So I had to try to flip them and get them to actually listen. So that was like the tough part of like, hey, I've been doing this alongside the whole time, and like people who know, and people who like don't know, I'm trying to like, so Eye to Eye did pretty well, but I had to really like fight through it because I'm like, okay, now they've seen the comedy. It's time for me to show them where I'm at mentally. And then for me to make a stupid little comedy video is one thing, but for me to make a song where I'm talking about my deepest like mental health issues, and then for people to say, I hate this, you suck. I'm like, wow, that's like a deep, that's like if I met you, I knew everything about your childhood and everything about your past and everything about your mental state, and I used it against you. I was so offended by it, But it has been tough.
Yeah, because you're getting the best and worst of the internet all together.
Yeah.
You're getting people praising you and having fun, and then someone else is like, hey, dude, this sucks. You're an industry plant. Kill yourself.
Yeah. And you know what's funny about that is I get so many messages daily of like people telling me like they found me for the comedy because they needed a laugh, and then they found my music and it like helped them through something tough. Or like this one guy came up to me, I won't actually say his name, that's personal, but he came up to me at a show I did in Dallas in January, and he was like crying, and he told me he was like basically like my music helped him get sober and like all this stuff, which is so like incredibly moving. And I see stuff like that and I'm like so moved by it, and then I see a comment that's like, dude, unrelease this shit, and that spirals me out. I'm like, fuck this guy, But yeah. I am so, and I don't even have to remind myself this. I am so incredibly lucky to have gained a fan base of people who need a laugh and then get to push my music, because the people who do appreciate it really appreciate it. And so, yeah. But it is like...
You're also in this weird zone too where, really, really... people who have a much larger following than you even, they have the luxury of being like, I post and ghost. I don't read the comments. I don't do anything.
Yeah.
But you're at a level where everything's telling you have to interact to keep this train moving.
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to just turn off the bad comments to you. It's like you're sifting through going, which ones do I need to like, oh, thanks. Oh, shit, that one was terrible.
Yeah.
I got to think for 15 minutes and not be upset about this.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. You know, my girlfriend's really good about it because my girlfriend, Sarah, she reads the comments for me a lot because I try to stay away from comments, but she reads them a lot. And I still do read the comments, but sometimes I'll just get pissed off. And I'll see like 5 comments that are like so nice, and I'll like them, and I'll be like, oh, well, thanks. Oh, this is a sweet comment. And then I see one hate comment, and I'm like, I'm making a whole video.
It undoes everything that you were just happy about. Yeah. And you can't fixate on like, wow, that was only 1% of the people that were acting that way. The closest I ever got to weird like internet hate was a friend of mine sold me a guitar. He sold me this Telecaster. It was a nice Telecaster, but it was like a made in Mexico that he had forever. Mm-hmm. And he had another guitar, and he's like, dude, if you want it, I'll sell it to you for like $150. So it was like a guitar in a case, $150, great deal.
Yeah.
I played on it for years, and when it came time for me to get rid of it, my mindset was like, well, I'll just pay it forward. I paid $150. Let's sell it $150. Why not? You know, like that's where I get a little like woo-woo, and it's like, you know, there's like magic in these instruments and energy. And 100%. It's like that good energy of that $150 sale to somebody who they're going to love this, and that maybe they'll make great music because of that, right?
Yeah.
And so when I just posted it for sale online, you know, like on Facebook Marketplace or something, it was immediately like stolen guitar, piece of shit stole this guitar, trying to sell this guitar, stolen, blah, blah, blah. And I was having to post pictures of like, no, here's me playing a show with it. This was my guitar. I got it from this person. Yeah. If you're a serious buyer, I could have them like message you or something if you'd like. And they're like, dude, just pull it down. Why even bother? And it's like, that was just a guitar.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine when it's an attack on like your personal, the things you really care about that you put all this effort into. It's got to be gutting.
Yeah, you know, I released a song last month in April called Funny. Mm-hmm. And I thought...
Can I say, first of all?
Sure.
That was the first track I'd heard, right?
Okay.
Because that was the one that you and Comedy for the Internet filmed the music video for.
Yeah.
So Danny, and I'd had Danny on the show before for Comedy for the Internet, and I love what they do.
Me too.
And I think they have really high quality stuff. So when he said he was making a music video, I was like, oh, well, let me check this out. It's probably going to be good, which it was.
Thank you.
But lyrically, I didn't know all your previous stuff. I was just thinking, oh, what a great song about like, you know, I'm listening to it as like the funny guy who's you know, like the funny guy in the friend group who maybe it's a girl, maybe it's friends, maybe it's people. I just want to be taken seriously. And if I don't act this way, am I going to have any friends?
Yeah.
Am I going to have any love?
Yeah.
Kind of like, do you know who Ethan Suplee is? Have you ever heard of him?
I have heard of Ethan Suplee.
Ethan Suplee was an actor or he's still an actor, I imagine, but his biggest roles were in like the 90s and 2000s. Mm-hmm. And like he was in like Remember the Titans, and he was the very obese white man.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I know him. He's like Jack now.
Yeah. He is super fit. Yeah. And but that song was making me think of him because you know, you got to wonder, a guy like that, does he feel like I got to stay obese or they're never going to give me another role? You know, and that song, I was saying like, wow, here's this pop artist, this rapper that's making this cool, serious song. Yeah. And then I dive in and see that you have this funny background. I was like, oh, so there's even another level to the insecurity of yourself. You know? Yeah. It's a good song.
Thank you so much.
But that was my introduction. I had no idea about the previous stuff.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah. A lot of people hate that song.
Well, I don't get it.
Yeah. I don't really either.
Is it just because they know you previously? Like
maybe.
They're worried you're changing or something? Like
maybe. The thing about Funny though is like, also, I really appreciate being seen for that, because that song, I'm like, this is a love letter to the funny friend, and for so many people, like I've shown it to people. I showed the demo of that to people, and they would like start crying, and they're like, wow. And the people who know me so deeply like know how I made that from a place where it's like I got in the shower clean on that. So it was like, I talked about the struggles of growing up with that, but it's more of a song about reflection than it is a song about how I currently feel. Mm-hmm. I felt like I had to process how I felt about that to actually make that song. And that's kind of the thing with Funny, is when I released it, there were a lot of people in my corner who were like, this is the one from the album. Like, this is the one that's people are gonna love this song. And I've gotten like the day it came out, one of my buddies, Brett, the day it came out, got the lyrics tattooed.
Whoa.
That say, I'm sorry I don't seem deeper than thing you notice. I guess I'm scared to open up for someone just to close it. Got it tattooed on his ribs. And so like it definitely has impact. And, you know, I thought, wow, for this, I'm going to dig deep and I'm going to try to find videos or comments of people saying like, just stick to being funny. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm going to have to dig pretty deep and I'm going to go into the past of all these videos and use that to promote the song. And I did that. And as soon as I uploaded it, it was just like a bunch of people. Like I've never had a song be received so poorly. And usually my songs come out and they're like, whoa, you know, people love the songs. Like I try to make the best music that I can for the season of my life I'm in. But yeah, it's just people started hating on it.
You know what though? I personally, just from my experience of just all the music I love in the past, or even art in general, that might be a good omen for you. That might be a good sign.
Probably.
Like, you ever heard the story about how, have you seen Fight Club?
I have seen Fight Club, yeah.
It was so poorly received when it was released that like at these film festivals and stuff, people were like, this is trash, it's garbage.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, me neither. I found out much later on because, you know, from the first time I saw it, people were like, oh, it's this great movie, check it out. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's a good sign. Maybe that's what needs to happen when you're transitioning slightly from just pure comedy to more serious. Maybe that's part of the fair weather comedy only fans will slide away, and that's fine, but you'll bring in this new group of fans that appreciate both. Yeah.
I don't, in the end of the day too, like I'm like, I wouldn't change anything about that song because I'm like, that's what I was trying to relay with it. I think it's so, like, I mean, the song is a song.
The irony too of like, you're being serious and now they're not liking you. And it's like, yeah, that's the song. Yeah, and that's what we're. It's what I you know what this is loosely written about is exactly what y'all are doing to me.
Yeah, yeah, and it ends with a joke. I don't say a single joke or make a punchline in the entire song, and the way I deliver the ending with the build up, and you're like, and then it goes just joking, and it's one of my characters, but it says they don't call that often. Maybe I'll end up alone if I wasn't just joking. And you read those lyrics, and you're like, wow. But I present it as a joke. I'm like, funny is executed pretty well in my opinion, but it's funny too because my first single for the album was called Nauseous, and
that's my second favorite one. Thank
you. Yeah, thank you. When we were making that song, we were like, this is a risk. Like, this is a song that it should not be a single. It's a little too artsy, and it takes a second to get it. Because Nauseous it's a unique piece, and so I was like, let's lead with it. I'm going to lead with it because I feel like doing things the right way has done nothing. You know, I would rather just be like, okay, it's been years since you heard from me. Here's a single. Yeah. And that single is going to be really weird, you know? I wanted that. And I mean, it's actually a funny story. I found a meme account called Bag of Stuff, and, you know, Nauseous was being received so well, and people were like calling me about it. They're like, dude, like you know. And I've reached out to Bag of Stuff, which is an account that specializes in showcasing the worst music on the internet. And I reached out to them and I was like, hey guys, I have this new song. It's called Nauseous. It came out. Is there any way that you could just toss me in the mix? Because in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I want to, like, you know, kind of an egotistical, like, I kind of want to shine through these, like that, you know. But if you put yourself, I found out they were so nice about it. Bag of Stuff is so nice, and they were like, "Hey, just letting you know, I like the song." But, you know, I was like, "Nah, it's fine." Like, they're like, "Okay, well, we'll post it, but it's a good song. Just know that I like it." And I was like, "Okay." And it was because they were a fan of me from one of my fart videos, and so they put it on there, and I was sitting there, dude. Honestly, dude, I sat there and I was like, wow, it just came out. I'm about to get some streams. And when you surround a song with terrible songs of people who go into a drop wanting to hate everything and wanting to hate the music, you get a lot of haters.
Yeah, man. And how could you not see that was going to happen? You're like, hey, man. Here's a bunch of sharks in the water, and we threw a bunch of chum and blood.
Yeah.
And I'm going to jump in, and they're not going to bite me.
They're not going to bite me. Yeah, dude. I should call you and consult you with my against the grain marketing stuff because I should have seen that, and I did not. I was like, this is a great idea. People are going to be like, wait a minute, no. What my thought was, people are going to be looking and scrolling, and then all of a sudden see mine, and then kind of go,
but this one's good.
But this one, wow.
I come here to shit on music, but this one is incredible.
I came here to hate, but wow. And then there was one comment, like the nicest comment on there was like, what is Chandler Cooper doing in here? Don't get me wrong, I don't like any of his shit. But he doesn't deserve to be here. And I was like, wow, that was nice. That was a kind.
That was the one normal, because the type of person who wants to hate all over other people's artistic endeavors is usually kind of a piece of shit anyway. Yeah. I mean, it's fun and a casual thing, but a person who's like really into it has probably never created anything, and they don't understand how hard it is to make something that's even terrible, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that was probably the one nice person who's like, he's not that bad, guys.
Yeah,
like, he's okay.
This song isn't terrible. It's just not good.
I wouldn't listen to it, but he doesn't deserve this.
So funny. Dude, so funny. But yeah,
that was someone looking at you like you're a three-legged dog. They're like, it's, I don't want this dog, but someone does.
I don't want this one, but I bet he'll go to a nice home.
Did it at least, even though it was hate, did it give you, was it at least driving traffic for you?
It was.
So you at least got something out of it,
because
right?
there were people that went, and then kind of like they saw it. There were people that ended up liking the song who discovered me from the page.
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, I found your stuff on Bag of Stuff. Like, I don't know why you were on that. And they're, and I'm like, oh, I was on it because I asked and I shouldn't have done it. And they're like, oh, that makes sense. But
I think it's a great story. I think it's a better way to go. Because honestly, man, I've had the pleasure of working with some comics and like producing a few things for musicians and comics, and they're also eager. They all want to get stuff out there, and they want this formula. Okay, so we'll record this, we'll release this, we'll do X, Y, Z, and that'll work, right? And it's like, man, it's the Wild West out there. No one knows. All the people trying to make it work are all asking the same questions too. Yeah. There's no just set thing you can do. Yeah.
The only thing you can be is consistent. But the problem is when you're honest, I think having a schedule with things like that, I think can lead to some creatives becoming uninspired, and it just causes a burnout pretty rough. Yeah. There's a song, one of my favorite artists, his name is John Bellion. And he has a song where he says, "Life became dangerous the day we all became famous." And I'm like, damn. That's, but yeah.
Well, let's see. You were born in, we said 98, right?
98, yeah.
I was born in 85. So what age did you get a cell phone? What age did you get a smartphone?
I was pretty young because I was one of those like smartphone.
Yeah. What age were you having access to social media and internet?
8th grade.
Grade.
Social media and the internet. I started YouTube in 2009. Like I started making little videos in 2009. That's
so
actually,
what age was that? That was about 11?
10 or 11. Yeah.
So I got my first cell phone, which was like the old school Nokias, when I was 16, and I got my driver's license, right? And it was like the old school plans where it's like only call if it's an emergency, because every call cost money. Yeah. And smartphone was probably like 20, 21.
Really?
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. We have a kid now, and just thinking about access to social media at that young of an age, I think we're in the older millennial segment. I think we were the last generation to know life pre that. Yeah. Yeah. And so it is kind of mind blowing to think that at that young age, it's like it's already on your mind. To that person's quote you were talking about.
For me, like I don't really have much memory before all of it, because one of my earliest memories are like watching YouTube in 2005.
Really?
Yeah.
Because as I was saying that, I was thinking, okay, well, if he got on about 10 or 11, then he did have, probably like 5 years of like, pure childhood with none of that stuff going on.
Yeah, mine, rest in peace to my friend. They're not dead, but I have a lot of friends that I was like kind of I was a weird kid, man. I liked turtles, and I wanted to be got turtle on my shirt. I got a turtle on my $1 million shirt.
Wait, are you also the turtle kid from that interview?
I like turtles.
You're not him, are you?
No, dude. That video.
Like, how deep do I not know about Chandler?
That video, and there's a guy named Grayson Russell. Shout out to Grayson Russell. He plays Fregley on Diary of a Wimpy Kid. We looked the exact same. Like, there was one time I was at Walmart in Cleburne, and a kid came up to me. I was also a kid, and wanted me to sign a piece of paper because they thought that I was Fregley from Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
And you signed it, right?
Oh, of course I did.
Yeah. You don't want to crush that moment.
I signed it Fregley, and I was like, I was like 11, but I looked like him. I resonate a lot with Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Fregley. But back then I was like the weird kid who kids would come over and I would force them to be in my YouTube videos. And if their parents were like, he's not going to be on YouTube, I'd be like, well, fine. He's going to hold the camera for me. I would write scripts and stuff. So I was like so I was.
It's very Bo Burnham of you.
Yeah, I was like, I was a genius like Bo Burnham back then. You watch some of this, it's funny, this project, like in my song Nauseous, I just sample one video of from back then because it's just so easy. Back then I was just so accidentally poetic because I just didn't know how to write anything. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna change. No, don't change. Fine, I won't change. I'm gonna look like a loser. And I'm like wearing Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely exposed a lot of kids to I was probably a lot of people's first exposure to social media and
That's interesting.
and stuff because I was so young and making them film videos and I was doing stop motions with friends and stuff like that. Definitely like kids were put off by it. They're like, "Can we go outside and play?" I'm like, "No."
What about your own parents?
My parents.
That's got to be hard for them to grasp. Like, so you're just making videos, right? You're just making videos and putting them out on the internet for strangers.
Yeah, yeah.
Our child.
Yeah, I'll tell a crazy story that I've never told anyone before.
Okay, you're not gonna make me edit this out, are you?
No.
All right.
Actually, we should clip this and then I'm gonna post it and tag the dude. In 2009, there was a guy. There was a guy online. We've been trying to find these emails because I got grounded one time in 2009 because I was a big fan of Shane Dawson. And for anybody who knows Shane Dawson TV in 2009, you got to watch that in private when you're a kid. That is a vulgar, vile, horrible. It was racist, misogynistic. It was awful. And there was this guy that Shane had, I say Shane like we're homies. There was a guy that Shane had do his introductions and stuff. And that guy was Charlie Puth. It was a young Charlie Puth. So he did parody music. That was his whole thing. So he did like, I'll take you to the candy shop. I'll let you lick the lollipop. He would do stuff like that. So I reached out to him and I was like, how much? He didn't know that. I was like faceless at that point. I was like, how much for you to give me a title? Like a theme song. He was like $125. And I was like, perfect. And I thought if I just communicate with this guy, he's like college age dude every day as like a 12-year-old. And don't tell him I'm 12, that maybe he'll just do it for free because we're homies. So I start building this relationship. Every day after school, I'm texting Charlie Puth or whatever. He's like straight up not interested. He's like, what's your email? I'll send you over some stuff. And I go, okay. I give him my email. It's my parents' email because I don't have an email. And Charlie Puth bills him $125. And my parents got so mad. I got grounded and they like my mom sent him an email back and was like, hey, that's my son. He's 12, like whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, that's the biggest regret is not getting that Charlie Puth. Could you imagine? But no, that they started monitoring me a little bit. But of course, I'm like a little kid and I know more about the YouTube stuff than them. So I was able to kind of get around. But my parents were very supportive of me and they were like, wow, like, I was super creative. I was like writing little songs and doing all this and, so they were very supportive of it. And my mom always makes jokes about it because every time my mom left to go somewhere, like she'd be like, I'm going to the store. Me and my dad are like, let's make 3 videos and have them done by the time she gets back and have them uploaded. So me and my dad would just kind of geek out and have fun with videos.
Hell
and,
yeah.
I sat there editing all of it because he didn't know how to edit it. And I would just he'd use his camera, we'd film it, I'd go and I'd edit it on Windows Movie Maker, and then I'd show him the finished product.
Dang, old school Windows Movie Maker.
Dude, old school.
People don't even know this. Now you have like CapCut and things. You just do it all on your phone. It's like the struggle. The struggle. And then also One True Media. I don't know if you remember One True Media, but that was like the editing for if you didn't have any way of editing. And it was it was like CapCut. Okay.
It was like CapCut, but at the very beginning it would go One True Media. That's like a really niche one, but yeah, One True Media. But yeah, so
was your dad a creative person?
He's from Guatemala, and he was in a successful band in Guatemala called Black Fever, and
first of all, that's a rad name.
So sick.
Yeah,
but it's called Black Fever, and he did like soca music. And he was like televised and super cool. Some of the guys from Black Fever are still Like there were like they're men of legends in Guatemala City.
Really? That's badass.
Yeah, so he was part of that, and then he moved to the States.
Once you get your worldwide tour going, you got to have them open up in Guatemala for you. That would
yeah.
be like come full circle. That'd be incredible.
Yeah, it'd be so sick. But Guatemala City, yeah. So he was just so down for anything creative, and he had his parents, my grandparents, obviously, they were pretty limiting on him. So they were like, he wasn't allowed to do anything outside of Guatemala City. So they couldn't do like tours and stuff like that. They were just kind of, so when they started seeing that I was doing creative stuff at a young age, they started pushing that fire under me. And they're like, yeah, there have been times in my adult life, like before I did the TikTok stuff, the way I do it now, where I'd be like working jobs and I'd be like, I'm just going to quit with the creative stuff. And my mom would be like, that's not, you can, you have that option, but you're not going to be as happy as you could be. You're meant to do it.
When they don't believe you anyway, they're just looking at you like, okay.
They're like,
Yeah. No, we heard you. Go ahead. Shut it down for a little bit.
They're like, yeah. Stop it for 24 hours because you can't go 24 hours without posting.
Yeah, it's like, just don't actually delete the account. Okay? Because we know where you're going with this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they've been super supportive of me and believed in me, but not in like a dance mom's momager kind of way. Just in like a, you're built for this. This is what you're feeling down right now. But
Maybe that's what you're missing. Maybe she needs to become that type of manager.
Maybe I need to
push you into just some horrible,
Dude, we should we should also.
You were working today.
Yeah.
Today you were working, okay?
Dude, when I first started going to LA when I was like 17, there were a lot of people who were like Disney kids and stuff. Yeah. And I didn't realize just how deep it went until like you're hanging out with kids that are on TV shows and their parents are like barging through the door. And if any of y'all are watching this, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to say any names, but like barging through the door and like, you're going to work. I'm like 15. Mm-hmm. It's like a 14-year-old kid.
It's a weird dynamic, right? And it's like, as much as they don't want to admit it, it's like you're looking for that payday. We know what you're doing, and it's just gross. You know? And it's the same as like, who do you think is worse? That L.A. I want you to be famous mom, or like a pageant mom. It's the same type of weird.
It's the same.
You're pushing them so hard for your like, I wish I could have been this.
It's the same. I think it's the same exact thing. But with the pageant moms, though, I think like when you win a pageant, like it's like one time throughout the whatever. It's that same like tyranny of a parent. But when you rely on your kid to pay your mortgage, it's just wild to me. Yeah, especially
you do wonder what some of these really famous people, and I don't obviously I don't know them in person, but like. Like a great example. I don't know if her parents were like this, but like Amanda Bynes, how she kind of fell off. Yeah. And she's trying to just do a normal life now. And it's like, talking about the worst part of the internet, people just, there's like, she has half the people praising her for these choices and then half the people just shitting on her choices all day long. Yeah. But it's like, ultimately it's her choice. But you do wonder, it's like, man, what would Amanda Bynes be like if she didn't go through all it? Because it seems like she probably had people pushing hard. Yeah. And then, of course, like your Justin Bieber types where their mom or whoever was there from the beginning at that 15-year-old age. Yeah, and we see the rise and fall. It seems that every 8 years we see something. Every generation's got a version.
Yeah, and we're seeing a pretty bad one with Bieber right now. It has me worried. I don't know if you've been seeing it, but
I catch little glimpses because I've been around him since the beginning. Just because here locally, especially, we how long have you been in North Texas? I can't remember.
My whole life.
Okay, so you're familiar with like Kiss FM and Kid Craddock in the Morning. And
and he used to come here with Selena Gomez because she's from Grand Prairie.
Exactly. So I feel like when he was very early, we were getting a little extra exposure here in DFW.
We were, yeah.
And then when he blew up, it was like, oh, that's that little kid that was on the show,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's always weird to say you feel bad for someone who has so much. But you do feel bad because it's like, man, it seems like he's over this. Yeah. And just wants to live a life now. And, at 15 or however young he started, was he making all those decisions? Of course not, right?
Yeah, of course not.
And it's like you can't process, your brain's not even fully developed till you're 25. Yeah. So he's got 10 years till he can even rationalize a real thought about like, what would this mean for me when I'm 40?
Yeah. Also we go back to what we were just talking about with like, you're born in 85. Mm-hmm. I was born in 98. And we had very different, like that period of time is not that long, but that period of technology, when he blew up in 08, I think it was 08 or 09, when he was Kid Rawl, and then he did Me Plus You, I'ma Tell You One Time. He did that song. but he wasn't in the iPhone era yet. Like iPhone was out, but I mean, he didn't have everybody with a smartphone in their face. He had people with flip phones, and like he was signing autographs at a young age. And then all of a sudden, they find out that you can just take a video pushing a celebrity's buttons who's going through puberty. Push their buttons and sell that to TMZ.
Yeah,
and then that's a different era to come up in. In general, and especially with all these labels that have people in a 10-year hold, like they'll have.
Yeah, that's a whole nother problem, right?
Yeah, it's so sad because I do feel so bad for him because like even in the song "Lonely," he has a Phineas O'Connell and Benny Blanco wrote. It's a song where it's like, what if you had it all but nobody to call? Maybe then you know me. And I'm like, that's tough. That's tough.
But it's hard to view a pop star that way, right?
It is, yeah.
Because all you get are the highlights.
Yeah.
And all you get are the like you just remember him on SNL singing whatever is it, baby baby oh whatever his first little hit was. And you're like, oh, woe is me. And it's like, hey man, it's still a human. Like,
of course.
He's totally out of touch with a common person.
Yeah.
But it's still a person. Let's not be horrible. And like, you remember when the big controversy where he peed in like a mop bucket backstage or something?
Yeah, and then
is that what it was?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, the stuff I would be afraid of people finding out that I did as a teenager.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to hang him on.
Yeah.
It's like, he might be a piece of shit, but it's not for this, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if he is. He might be great, but
yeah.
That just seems like a weird thing to be like, ooh, juicy. He was, oh, he peed in a bucket as a teenager or whatever. It's like,
yeah, I was shitting in buckets.
Yeah,
dude.
I was like, that's pretty mild. Like, it's like one of my childhood high school friends. After high school, shortly after high school, he thought it would be a good idea to transport meth across state lines to sell to the Hurricane Katrina victims, and he got caught and imprisoned. Right, and this was like a good childhood friend. So it's like, I was probably one or two bad decisions away from like down the road in my life being like in the car with that person being like, this sounds like a great idea. So it's like, if I hear mop bucket, it's like, yeah, I'm not judging them too hard. That's a pretty tame bad decision, And it's like, just put it in perspective.
I know I've never met your friend, friend, but I don't like to judge, but it's covered.
You can judge. I mean, a lot of these friends I don't have anymore, and I don't know anything about them these days. They could be great people, and hopefully he's rehabilitated and his life's going well. But it's, it's like, well, you're in a big small town.
Yeah,
it's like there are some people you stick with, and there's some people you grow out of, and that's just part of it. Because in those small towns, it's like a lot of your friendships are proximity based. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily that y'all click and get along permanently. It's like, no, through our childhood, we lived next door or whatever, and we were good friends through then. And then as you grow and you're mature, and everybody grows differently.
I was actually just having that conversation the other day because I was talking to one of my friends, and they were like, every time I come to Cleburne, I just end up relapsing on meth. And I'm like, bro, why?
Yeah.
And he's like, because that's all anyone does out there is meth. And I'm like, I've never seen meth in Cleburne. Like, sure, there's that. There's like the meth heads, the tweakers.
Yeah.
But don't hang out with those people.
Yeah, like you still had to go find this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like you pulled across state line or in cities, into the city, and they're like, and here's your meth. Thanks for coming to Cleburne.
Hey, welcome in. Hope you have a good time in Johnson County. Here's a bag of meth. Actually, it is kind of like
it's close.
It is kind of like that, low-key. Yeah.
The only reason I'm laughing so hard at that is that little town, Copeville, I grew up in. That's what I always say. People were like, "Oh, small town Texas, like horses, cows," and I'm like, "Yeah, you'd think that," but it was more like trailers, rundown homes, stuff in the front yard, and some of the neighbors are meth addicts.
Yeah. Ours is like horses, cows, dirt roads, meth addicts.
Yeah, there were horses and cows, but they were not our neighbors that owned them. It was like a little bit further down the road.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just couldn't imagine scrutinizing a teenager. I think it's just getting older too, it's like having more perspective, going like, oh man, if you're judged off all those mistakes when you're young like that.
Oh, for sure.
It's brutal.
For sure. Yeah, 'cause you don't make any good decisions.
Yeah. I think my fear now is if I were to meet the people I grew up with again.
Yeah.
But it's around people that I know now, and then they started to tell the old stories. And I'm like, no.
It's not.
Shut that down. Shut that down.
Yeah. Luckily, I don't have too many of the. Luckily, I don't have too many of the of those. Like, I wasn't taking meth to Katrina victims.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Well,
Such a Jesse Pinkman season
he
4 move.
He was a good guy, and like growing up, he was a good friend, and it was the stereotype of like that rough upbringing. Money was an issue. Finances for the family were an issue. A lot of like fatherless things going on. You know? It's like just the tropes and the stereotypes of just this repeated cycle is happening. Kind of thing. But I hope he's better now. He was always. It was weird too because it was like a cliche. He was also like this very bright kid.
Yeah.
So it's like we were almost ready to like make this movie about this kid turned it around. He was one of those. Winning like science fairs and things like that. And it just didn't work out. But
dude, he loved chemistry. I'll tell you that much.
He apparently knew a little bit. Yeah,
yeah. And it's so sad seeing people like that. Where I'm like, dude, we're pushing 30. Like some of my friends are 30, and I'm like, oh, you're in this for life. You're done. Like, there's so many people I meet that I'm like, if you can make a wrong decision, they make the wrong decision with their whole chest, and I'm like, come on, dude.
Still, yeah.
Come on. I definitely know some pieces of shit. Don't
we all?
Don't we all?
And we're gonna name them right now.
Okay.
No.
Let's. Oh, okay. I was about to.
Sorry. We better not do that. Yeah, it's weird, man. But what is? How far away from 30 are you now?
I'm 26. Gonna be 27.
So you got time, man.
I got some time.
You're already thinking about 30?
Yeah, dude, I got time, dude. It's funny.
You don't have to think about this yet.
When I was like 23, my mom started being like, "Yeah, you're in your mid-20s," and it kind of hit me. I was like, "Oh shit!" But I don't look at. I've dealt with like some depression in silence. Funny is so true to that, but I've dealt with so much like depression, anxiety, and like struggles in silence, and I've made a lot of friends who haven't been able to get through that. And have passed away, and so I look at when a lot of people hit 25, they start going, "Oh my God, I'm halfway to 50. I'm a quarter way to 100."
Quarter life crisis.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there like, dude, if you make it to 19, you're a fourth of the way to 76. You know what I mean? Because that's 19, that's 30. 19%, that's 38.
Here we go. Don't make me do this. I'm going to leave you out there.
but I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, I'm just lucky to have made it. There, another thing by John Bellion, that artist I was telling you about. He's like, every time I drove a car, I could have twisted the metal, and I'm like, damn, that's also a thing too. So I don't look at like 30 as like a bad thing. I don't look at 40 as a bad thing. I'm like, honestly, wow, I'm excited to get older.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, especially since you're doing things. I think those like I was joking around. I'm coming up on 40, and I was joking around about like, all right, we got to get this midlife crisis going. We got to like, all right. But it's like, well, I love my wife. I don't want to cheat on her, so I guess we won't do the affair.
You don't like boats?
Yeah, I'm not into boats, and I don't have enough money to like go out and get like a really badass midlife crisis car. Yeah. And I would stress too much. So it's like, what are like midlife crisis things I can do on a budget?
Right. Let's have a responsible. Let's not max out the credit cards.
Because truthfully, man, it's like, was 18, 19, 20, 21. Was that all fun? It's like, man, that was a blast. I had a great time.
Yeah.
But life feels like every 5 years, it has its new problems, but it's been significantly more fun.
Yeah.
Every 5 years. Like, I think if as like a creative type, if you're just doing things, I think that's what'll happen. Yeah. Because you're never going to feel like, oh, I wish I would have,
Yeah.
I think those are the only people that are really having those problems are people who just don't take those steps, those jumps of like, hey man, go fuck that thing up. You're probably not going to be very good at it, but it's cool. It'll be better. And then 5 years from now, when you find that new hobby or that new thing, it's like you're going to look back and go, yeah, I wasn't even good at this yet. Now I'm 10 years in and I love doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just so scary to start that. But I had problems, but I never felt like I had those freak out moments of like, oh my God, I'm this age. What do I do with my life?
Yeah.
I don't think that's real anymore for if you're attempting anything, I think you'll be good.
Yeah, I think so too.
You know what I mean? If you're trying anything, I don't think you're going to have those moments. And like, dude, people are living so long now.
I know.
So it's like, realistically, it's like your generation, I mean, y'all might be hitting like 120.
Yeah.
So it's like, what the 30's nothing, dude. You still got 90 years on the clock, man.
Exactly.
It's kind of wild to think about.
It is.
Because my dad, he's about to turn 70, and his mother, my grandmother, she lived till 99.
Whoa.
And the only reason she clocked out at 99 is she had like a fall. She went into like a nursing home and just kind of lost hope.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
But she was up till that point, she was living on her own in her own house in her 90s.
Wow.
Right. And so I was telling him, I was like, man, you know, you're in good health and like you have better circumstances than her. You're going to be here till like 95. I was like, have you thought about that? You got potentially 30 years left. And he's like, damn, when you put it like that. And I'm like, yeah, man. So like, what's your new hobby? Well, now that you're retired, what are you going to do? Because you can't just be bored, you know? Yeah.
Pick up drugs or something.
Yeah.
He
always joked that the second he retired, he's going to pick up smoking again because he quit whenever he had kids, just cold turkey. And he always was like, as soon as we're retired and everything, he's like, I'm just smoking like crazy. He didn't do it though.
Damn.
Wimp.
Yeah, what a puss, dude. Yeah, I always do groceries and like little odd jobs and stuff for some of my. I went to church with these guys. Names are Fred and Dottie, and Fred is 95, and he's got like a bad knee. He loves. I don't know. It's interesting with him because he's 95. He goes to the doctor. Me and him have so much fun when we go to the doctor together. But he'll be able to just say what his vitals are. They'll like take his blood pressure and he'll say exactly what they are because they've stayed consistent for you. This dude has this love for life, and but he has macular degeneration. I'm just violating HIPAA. It's okay.
It's all good.
But he's losing his eyesight, going deaf. So he has glaucoma. He has all this stuff. But he's so happy all the time at 95. It's insane how happy this dude is all the time. Like, and his wife Dottie, they're just like they still live at their house.
That's awesome.
And they just have fun. They just watch TV, watch westerns, and hang out. And then but it's interesting how much the perspective of. My granny passed away when she was 86. She had Alzheimer's, so it was a little different. But one of the things that their doctor said, talking when he was like reading out his vitals, they were like, "Yeah, the thing that people your age have that's consistent is they're always in good mental health. Like they're happy." And she was like, "Do you get depressed a lot?" He was like, "No." And it's like he does the questionnaires where they're like, are you experiencing depression or anxiety? He's like, absolutely not. He just has fun all the time. He's just happy to wake up every morning,
Dang. Did you ever ask him about it? Like the secret, like why are you happy every day?
Oh, yeah. We make jokes because he drinks a lot of wine. We say that he's pickled. It's something that one of his old buddies used to say, and so we were just kind of taking that on. But yeah, he's just pickled. He's a pickled guy.
That generation too, like the ones that live that long, you'll talk to them, and you're like, what's the secret? And they're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
and you're like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, when he was
maybe that's part of it. It's like maybe don't overthink it. Maybe just go have some fun.
When he was growing up, every time he got injured or he got a cut, his mom would put sugar of lead in his wounds. You cut your mouth, sugar of lead in there, and I'm like, dude, you're radioactive, you're pickled. Like that's how you're living. You're gonna outlive me, dude. It's crazy.
You're like you had just enough to fight off all the cancer in there.
Yeah, right.
It was like just enough.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's wild. So you're running errands for him, man. That's fun.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. Cool. I have fun with them.
Yeah, that's like a little. It's like you're making your own little indie movie right now.
Yeah, yeah. I just need to start riding bikes at sunset.
You ever played your music for him?
Oh yeah, we did a.
How's that sit with a 90-year-old?
They love it. I used to be a rapper. That's why online it says I'm a rapper everywhere. But I used to be a rapper, and when I did, I had no playability to older people. And one day I was kind of over there, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm making my music." They're like, "Yeah, your rap stuff," and I was like, "I haven't rapped in years." And they were like, "What?" So I showed it to them. And they're like, "Whoa!" They loved the song "Eye to Eye," Lexapro, but the one that they quote the most is. My girlfriend Sarah has gone over there a couple times. She's met him. They love Sarah, and so I have a song called "Looking for Sarah" about Sarah. They love that. Every time they see her, they start singing it, and
that's so cool, dude.
It's very cool. When we did the release for "Looking for Sarah," we did a release party at Hoppin' in Fort Worth, which is like a kind of like a frozen yogurt place, but beer. It's just serve yourself beer. Super, super cool. And we did like an acoustic set. Well, we practiced it. I can't play guitar. I'm one of those guys. I can't play any instruments. And so my buddy August, we went through like an entire acoustic set, like a 35-minute acoustic set. And once we got everything, like we got the flow of it right, I called them. I was like, hey, do you guys, they can't really get out and do stuff. So I was like, hey, you guys want an acoustic concert in your house? And they're like, yeah. So I sat down with them, and, we did a full acoustic concert.
That is awesome.
Yeah, they love it. They love it. We have a lot of fun with them.
Man, like I just picture them sitting in like their recliners.
Yeah.
Just like, hold on. And they sit back in that kind of scrunched up way that old people do. And they're like, all right, go.
Like, here we go. Go ahead.
Honey, he's starting the show. Come on.
I'm getting my hearing aids.
Man, but do you hear about how like at my age, it's like I'm not supposed to enjoy any new music period ever again. They're like, he only likes stuff from whatever
Yeah.
It's like, that's not true. Just listen to some shit. So here's a 90-year-old listening to a former TikTok rapper. Like, it's like that. They don't even know what that sentence means.
Yeah, exactly.
That's badass, man. Well, speaking of, you said you don't play any instruments. I was super bummed that I missed your live show here at Club Dada. I really wanted to go to that before
that's
this
okay.
interview. It's not okay for me because I wanted to see it before this.
Yeah,
because, I mean, playing pop music now, and then you're saying you don't play any instruments.
Yeah.
So how are you, first of all, writing this? How are you writing your songs? Is somebody just sending you beats, or what are you doing?
Well, so here's the process for each song is a little bit different, but I can produce myself by nerding out on a computer. So I can do like what's called like music manipulation. So basically just use samples, write with the samples, and then produce the whole thing, and then go through it. And like what I'll do is I'll erase stuff and send it to people. I'll be like, hey, can you add some guitars here? Can you do this? So it's not like, so it's interesting because I'll find like samples online, have people recreate them like live and like do stuff like that. But that's when I produce my own stuff. I have a buddy, Jaden Gray, who produces majority for me now. And he lives in LA. He's from the area of here, but I met him in LA, and we do a bunch of stuff together. And basically I'll have people come over or I'll go to them or whatever, and they'll start playing guitar and like coming up with something. And when I hear something I like, I'll be like, I like that. And every song of mine is consistent in the way that it starts with a freestyle. So for example, someone plays a little riff, and then I'll be like, my song, I have a song coming out called Echo. That's a great example. This is better. I have a song coming out called Nothing at All, where we just found this little loop and bang dong, and I just kind of start and then I just attach words. So like for my song Echo, it's just sad like guitar, and I go I always jumble up when I talk about this because every song is so different.
So you feel melody first.
I feel melody first, and wherever my mind goes with melody, I base everything around that. And then when I want to tweak it, I tweak it, because I feel when I'm coming up with a melody, wherever my mind goes immediately is typically the most catchy. And that's not like a superpower that I have. It's nothing like that. It's just one of those, like, my mind went here, other people's minds will probably go here. When you hear a song, you're like, it's just something I guess I have.
So that makes sense, but what confuses me is your breakup EP, where each song is the stages of grief, right?
Yeah.
So if you find yourself kind of putting your trust in other people making this music a lot of times, right? That's more of a themed album, right? You're going through specific emotions, specific feelings. It's got to follow a specific pattern. Yeah. So now are you reaching out going like, I need a song that feels this way? And then, I mean, because at this point, you have to really be a lot more conscious about the writing, right? You can't do quite as much of the freestyle that you were just talking about. Yeah. So how was that process different then?
Well, okay. So it's actually still the same process, because what it was I got with my buddy Jaden, and I got with my buddy Nate Kaseve. And so I was with Jaden Gray, and I was like, basically, he makes formulaic pop stuff for artists that are pop artists. And I was like, man, I want you to just have fun, like something that like your management wouldn't approve for your own artistry. I was like, just give me something. I have something to say. And so I actually went in with I Got Dumped Here's an EP, LOL, with the entire album written. And
when you say like, written, you mean like lyrically written?
Lyrically written. Like I had concepts for songs, and I had verse ideas, and I needed some help with the hooks. And I got with him, and I wanted it to be kind of an angry, kind of like chugging through, like working through anger. And he started with my song New Chevy, which ba-da-da-dum bum ba-da-ba-da-dum ba-da-da-dum bum. And then
because that's the if I remember right, that's the Acceptance song, right?
That's the Acceptance, yeah. And so I immediately made a song, and I was like, okay, this is going to be the Acceptance song. This is after everything's said and done. But I fell in love with that song so much that I was like, I don't feel comfortable making an angry album with this, because it kind of discredits this a little bit. So I just went into it, and I was like, I have stuff I want to say. With funny too, I was like, I have stuff I want to say. I want it to be about being a funny person. Just make something, and I'll come up with it, because I just trust his production. But I'm also, one of the biggest things with me as well is I love it might sound lame, but I love surrendering to it. So I love saying, let's make something, and then here's what I want to do. I want to stay in this direction, but if we change that, that's okay. So like when we made Away From Me, that was going to be another like leading up to Acceptance song. It was going to be before New Chevy to like really be big and bring New Chevy home. And instead we made the Anger State, which was like, we found this guitar loop that sounded like MGK. And as a joke, I went, I didn't know I loved you up until you left me. I didn't know I needed all the lies you said to me. But nanny boo boo, and you cannot catch me, and you left me lonely. And the guy who was sitting there, Nate, he was like, what song is that? And I was like, I don't know, I'm just coming up with it. He goes, let's do it. And I was drunk as hell, and I was like, fuck it, let's do it. So we made that song, and but yeah, we just kind of went through, and I was like, well, I need one that's like the breakup just happened. And so we just kind of chugged along with it with like, I have an idea of what I want. I love writing myself in a corner. I love finding a beat or working with someone and then being like, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off. Let me pull this off. Eye to Eye was very much one of those where Eye to Eye is the depression stage where I was like, dude, I want to make this the most powerful hook that I've ever heard. And that was kind of what I went into it with. And I was like, and I want it to be a thing where if you have a difficult relationship with food, you can put this on. If you have a difficult relationship with yourself in your depressive I want people to be able to put this on and get it. Like, I need this to like really, I was like, let's make this the leading single. And he was like, okay. And he went, and we just kind of wrote it. But yeah, I'm very writing cautious, but I think that's also, I think it comes pretty easily to me when I have an idea for a project of like, I can hear a song go, that's what I'll do with this one, as opposed to like going into it blind and just putting stuff together. I'm more like, I'll hear something and go, I don't feel it, and then let it move me throughout. You know, by the time the production's done, I have a full song written because I'm like freestyling to the like, and I'm like, you know. Anyways, so
yeah, that's got to be a little more. My history is with bands. Always been in bands.
Got it.
So it's always either been like you have a leader of the band who's saying like, here's what I wrote, let's make this work. Or there's bands that just kind of collaborate and let's come into the room and just jam. And, you know, but I've always been curious about, you know, a pop artist just because it's such a different, you're on an island, but you rely on these other people also. Yeah. You know, it's a unique way to, I guess, create. I've never made anything that way, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of foreign. But that makes a lot of sense. Really, you can just kind of focus lyrically on what you want to say to start with.
And that's
kind of nice, too, to be able to bounce it off someone and they go, you know what I hear, though?
Yeah.
And then maybe offer you up some stuff.
Totally. And I have a song called Echo that's coming out. It's like the intro to my album. And that one is so deeply personal that I almost didn't release it. And, you know, it's not out, so there's still a chance.
Why would you not release it?
It's about my friend who passed away. And it came out, my friend passed away in 2023, and it spiraled me out with my alcoholism. And I just could not get a hold of my alcoholism. And then I got sober and I tried to process it and force myself to really process my friend's death, which was sudden and heartbreaking. And it was like a terrible, terrible thing. And then when in 2024, I got sober in August 8th, I like actually got sober. You know, I was sober for a month or a month or two. And then in August, I actually got sober and I got to a point where I was able to process it. And I didn't know how to process such an intense feeling other than to make music about it. And it was one of those songs that if I listen to it right now, we've been working on mixing it. And when we have the mixing sessions, I have to clear the schedule for the entire day because I'm depressed. I'm anxious. I'm like, it's a song that's so incredibly sad to me. It's one of those songs that's more therapy than anything. And with my music, there's always that like, okay, here's how I'm feeling right now, but how can we make it catchy? And there's nothing catchy about this song. It's just like raw. It was like a freestyle that I barely tweaked anything of. And it's like, I say some of the stuff in there that that are things I've subconsciously thought about myself but never known how to put into words. So like one of the things I say in that song is I go, I don't know what they do, but maybe, my God, maybe I could be the one who speaks the pain I heal through. I don't know what to do, but when I text your mom about you, Pablo, I still see you. But when I say, it's just such an intense song, and it's so personal, and there's so many moving pieces to it that I'm like, it's hard to like wrap my head around it, around why. But yeah, it's so personal that I have a hard time talking about it, thinking about it, or working on it.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Do you think some of it too, I mean, especially with your experience with releasing Funny,
Yeah.
where, you know, not saying you're like leaving jokes behind, but you're evolving to go, I have more than just jokes, people, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, you get people saying like, what is this?
Yeah.
Why are you releasing this?
Yeah.
And now you're talking about going another level deeper.
Yeah.
Another level more vulnerable.
And it'll be the next thing.
You know?
It'll be... I actually never even thought about that.
Do you think that might be a little subconscious of like...
Dude, I need to run these things by you.
Because from what I hear, it sounds like, you know, okay, you're a 26-year-old man, you're maturing, and even though it's not a fear, it's like getting older, evolving. These things are on your mind, right?
Yeah.
This is a normal man thing to do, a normal human thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And you're already doing that with your writing.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like comedy will never go away. That'll always be infused with what you do. But now we're throwing in these new elements, which as someone getting closer to 30, you should be doing, right? Because
Totally.
life is naturally, no matter what you do, getting more serious.
Yeah.
All the time, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great example of like, you know, as you become an adult, it's like things like that unexpected thing with your friend, they happen.
They happen.
And even though you're more mature, it's still really difficult, you know, as a mid 20-year-old to process that, because it might be for a lot of people, that might be the biggest moment of grief they've ever had, right?
Yeah.
So now it's like, whew, I have never ever had to deal with a problem like this ever.
Yeah.
And that's, from my outside looking in, that's what I see is this is you naturally growing and evolving as an adult.
Yeah.
But that's the natural fear too of like, man, I've never even had to consider releasing something that makes me feel this vulnerable before, because it's, you know, it started in middle school, just making jokes with my dad. It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. Me and my dad would get psyched when my mom left the house, make some quick videos, throw them up. Everybody loved it. I'd get my friends over. And now it's like, man, my friends are having tragic accidents. And now I feel these ways, and I have to put it into words and music. And, you know, I have a fan base that a portion of them didn't like me getting more serious, and now I want to go more serious.
Yeah, now the next thing they hear is the intro to the album, which is so serious. Also, I drank this whole thing. Is there a way I can use the restroom real quick?
Yeah, we'll pick back up.
For those of you who are just seeing, what happened was I started zoning into the abyss of I'm about to pee myself.
It's all good. Anyway, we're back. So yeah, we were just talking about like you're evolving into music that's a little deeper, a little more mature, and that's scary. And you're not sure if you want to release this track, but you know, maybe that was the whole reason you came on the podcast today, is for me to just convince you, well, you definitely have to release it.
Yeah.
You have to release it.
For sure. It's a really cool song, because it also, like I said with it, it doesn't follow. I hate when people explain their music and stuff, but I'm going to explain the shit out of this. Like I said, it doesn't really follow anything that's like, this is going to be a hit. It doesn't. Which is kind of the theme of the project.
How many songs in total? Because right now you've released 3?
3, yes.
Okay.
There's like 6 or 7.
Okay.
Because there's an outro as well.
Yeah.
But the intro has the skits attached to it, and I'm probably going to do a deluxe version of the album, because it's an EP, and then actually make it a full album with some extras, and then just kind of release the single versions of everything. But the thing with this project is it's my first album, I Got Dumped, Here's an EP, LOL, came out in 2022. In 2017, I released like a 12-song project, and in 2013, I released a 15-song project, and those are like wiped out for like various reasons.
I remember you saying those got all pulled off the internet, huh?
Yeah, I pulled those all off. They're still on SoundCloud, so if you type in Chandler Cooper on SoundCloud, you can do that deep dive and find all my old stuff.
Gotcha.
Or a lot of my old stuff, I guess. But when I wiped it out, clean slate, and I had Used To, So Long, and then I had Eye to Eye in the whole project. When you go and try to do a deep dive on me, it looks like I just came out the gate with polished, high production stuff.
Yeah, that is very much my experience.
Yeah.
As I was going, when you told me you'd done this for a while, like I think I was emailing you and you said that, and but what I'm looking at, it's like, well,
it's not there.
I guess, because for a moment I was like, do I have the right guy?
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, this is definitely the guy. Definitely the guy. But
That was like a big problem I have, where it's like I find an artist, and if I love their stuff and I go back and I can't find anything else they don't love, I go to SoundCloud or I go to YouTube and I go into their like vault. And so many people don't do that. And but the thing that people want to do is go back and see like how did this start?
Yeah.
And so this project takes place before, and they actually bleed in together. So it's like 2 EPs that make a full length album. Like that's what the whole point is. And so when you listen to it, there is that. I think it's so poetic to have that song be like, okay, this is why I'm a songwriter. This is me experiencing grief, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and it's just going to morph into Nauseous, which is like, okay, now that I've experienced the grief and I'm kind of have my footing a little bit, I'm going to go to LA, and I'm going to try to figure out how to make this happen. I go, ooh, this is a machine that's going to outlive me. It's a machine that if I don't exist, it's not going to do anything, and if I can exist and I can earn my keep. And so that's what like Nauseous is. And it's like, well, why do I need this like fame when like I just need to love myself, which goes into funny. And so it goes Nauseous into funny. And it's like, okay, I'm looking for a love I don't like. I need love right now. I'm this funny guy who like is drowning. I'm just looking for love. And it goes into looking for Sarah. And so it's like, that's the whole thing. And then it leads into this polished project. Yeah. So it goes through with the concepts. And so that's kind of me filling in the gaps. But like also I control the narrative. You don't see the sloppy. You see what I allow, which is, but I think echo is such an important piece. And everybody I've shown it to, I've had people like in the most respectful ways be like, can we turn this off? And I've never had that before where they're like, ooh, they'll start like tearing eyed. They're like, can we turn this off? Because I'm publicly pushing forward my grief in a way that some people haven't even some people, everybody processes it differently. And with me processing it publicly, it's a weird feeling. Because if you hate this song, bad news.
Yeah.
This album is not my music is so mental health oriented, and so it's like if you hate this song, like but the titles are funny. So I got dumped. Here's an EP. LOL. This one is LOL. I swim real good. I swear it. And it's about like that childhood, like that childlike sense of wonder where you like jump into a pool and you can't swim. I used to do that shit all the time. It wasn't even like my mom wasn't paying attention. She'd turn away and I'm jumping in a pool. Like I was that kid. And so it's LOL. I swim real good. I swear it. And it's just like immediately you get tossed into grief and you get tossed into Nauseous, where it's like people are shallow. I'd rather the deep end, which was a coincidence, by the way. Yeah. The album title came first, and Nauseous ended up having those elements. Is it a coincidence?
I mean, or is this a sub? Sometimes when you're working on things,
exactly,
things
right?
just come to you.
Exactly, right? Yeah, because it could be a subconscious thing, and it probably realistically is, because I've been working on this concept and had this album title since 2022, and I've been working on it.
It's not going to accidentally work out that way if you're not working on it intently.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
I think that's one of the things that creative people mess up is they're like, oh, Chandler was so lucky that all just worked out. And it's like, no, he was working on it.
Yeah.
He was working on it, and then when the moment came that it accidentally worked out, he was like, oh, yeah, that's what I'm trying to go for.
Yeah.
It's in there. It's just... It's hard to appreciate that, like, you're going to have to put in the hours to get it out,
Totally, yeah. Macklemore. Shout out Macklemore, dude. I've been DMing Macklemore for years, dude, and he doesn't respond.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't see him. But I'm like, I'll like send him a text. I'll be like, good morning, Mackle. Hope you have a good day. But he has an album called The Heist that has like Thrift Shop and Can't Hold Us and all that shit on it. And in that, he has a song called 10,000 Hours, I think. And he said, it's 10,000 hours. He just talks about his 10,000 hours finally hitting, and he says the greats weren't great because at birth they could paint. The greats were great because they paint a lot. And I love that line. And I've actually put, like, every time I've ever felt down on myself when I was like 14, 15, 16, trying to figure out how to do all this stuff, I thought back to that line, because I was like, I remember hip hop is so competitive. And when I was like a rapper, like I was rapping all the time and all my shit was just rap. when I was doing that, I remember just people would spit a bar that would make me want to quit music. And I was like, well, they just do this a lot. And some people have that gift, like, not to discredit that. Some people are born with the, like, they're playing drums at like 3 and keeping time. Some people have that. I don't. I don't have that musical ability. If you heard the first 5 years of my music, I'll send you some shit. It's awful. But I had to like work towards it, and that was like so. I can't dance. Like if you would have come to the show, you would see. You'll probably go. I can't dance. I do this.
All right.
I can't even copy it.
I'm into it though.
It's like when Lord hit the scene in 2013. She was like, "I've never seen a diamond in the flesh." I'm like,
dude. Can I tell you, on the way here,
Uh-huh.
I was going to talk to you about Lord and
Really?
its relationships to your music, but I was like, he doesn't want to be compared to Lord.
I love
and it's
Lord.
like the fucking universe is weird like that. That's why I always believe we're in a simulation. It's like one of my guests, I was like, I've never seen him in shorts, and that was the day he wore shorts. And I was like, what is happening here? Anyhow, but I was just re-listening to that album, the what is it, Pure Heroin album?
Yeah.
And because I was just remembering, I was like, yeah, I mean, when this came on the scene, this was very different, and it was so good.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I was gonna, kiss your ass and praise you about was, I think it is good to move into that zone of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Especially coming from rap, right?
Yeah.
Where you wanted to do, and it's like, I think maybe, I don't know, you can speak to your generation better than I can, but like, I just feel like people are tired of talking about how amazing they are. Like, I don't want to hear how awesome you are and how great your stuff is. And Lord was switching that of like, no, we're not that. And that's going to be fine,
Yeah, she was excellent, and especially her performances. She was so huge, and her performances just broke every rule because like. I always say I can't dance. My shows would be better if I could dance, but my biggest superpower at the shows is I can't dance.
Yeah.
I do a rendition of "Party in the USA," and I refuse to learn the words. There are parts of that song I don't know.
I saw your post where you were like, we did a butchered version, per usual or something.
And it's always butchered because I want it to be like, okay, you've heard my music. I just did this as well as I can. Now here's like drunk karaoke. So it'll be a and I'll be like, white bitches, where you at? White bitches. And then we'll start singing, but I can't sing that song because
it's a hard song.
It's like singing Happy Birthday.
Dude,
I'm not singing
people
that.
love to hate on Miley, but she is an incredible singer.
She's insane. She's so talented.
All right, listen, when you get going and you get, the money that people think you have now.
Yeah, right.
When you get into Miley's world,
yeah,
you remember this moment because I'm just waiting for her to write that like indie album.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I hear her do these covers, like, did you hear her do like Madonna's like a prayer?
Yes.
And it's like, God, you forget. It's like, yeah, I don't really like a lot of her music, but God, she can sing.
She did that one song too. It's like, I get it out another song.
Yeah. It's is that Blondie?
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Point being though, like, incredible singer.
Her Jolene is also insane.
Yeah.
That's the best Jolene I've
Dolly's
ever
like
heard.
her godmother or
Yeah.
something, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's like, can you imagine her coming out with like an indie rock album or just not typical Miley pop star?
She did a rock album in like 2022, but it wasn't like indie rock. But it was just kind of like when you're surrounded with...
she, her dad and everybody, like, she has been in the industry. She knows how the industry runs.
Yeah.
And she knows how to utilize it to her advantage.
And
right?
she's also very puts her foot forward on the luck of the like she was born into it thing, and I really admire that. Like,
yeah, but we can all agree, like, she's better than her dad. Like,
oh my God, yeah.
And I don't hate on him, but she's just more talented. But no, I want to see her do a tour, under another name or something.
Hannah Montana.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh, I've been to those shows so many times. I'm
Have
over
you
that.
really?
No.
Oh, I was like, no way, dude. That's sick.
I would just go by myself. There's lots of girls there.
You. Oh.
That
joke sucks.
No, but imagine her, like, you find out that you're opening for whatever her alter ego band is at your Club Dada show.
Yeah.
And you're like, is that fucking Miley? And these are just like original indie songs. I don't even know what we put this, like, I just feel like her writing is probably incredible if she were to stretch those legs.
Totally.
I would love to hear that.
Totally.
I'm waiting to be a big fan of hers when she launches this music where I'm like, you familiar with like Alabama Shakes?
No.
Okay, it's like just indie kind of rock stuff, but I'll send you. I would just love for her to step out of her lane where you're like a little bit between like kind of rock and roll and country music, because those are her influences.
Yeah.
With just a tad of that pop flair in there. You know, what about Casey Musgraves? You know that?
Casey Musgraves is dope.
Okay. Did you hear her earlier stuff where she's mostly kind of pop country?
Yes, that's actually all I know of her. I don't know any of her new stuff.
Now she's gone a little more poppy into, I would say she's doing kind of like a Cher thing. Like she's getting maybe a little more like disco dancey kind of stuff, and it's still good.
Yeah, I remember her, like, she did like that girly country pop stuff where it was like, follow your arrow wherever it points.
But she had one album, I'd have to look it up again, but we were on a long road trip and we're like, we're going to front to back this album. You know?
I love doing that shit.
And but she was like one of the earlier country artists where she was different without trying, like without being a try hard. Like, I'm so different, you know. But she would also just be talking about like, what, you know, we're just like kind of average people, and she's singing these songs where you're calling out that country music scene, like, you know, you're all just singing about dirt roads and bullshit.
Yeah, she was also big on psychedelics too. Like,
she was singing about like drug use and all this in these standard kind of country songs.
Yeah,
really good. I really like her. I would love to see Miley kind of come into that lane.
Yeah,
just a little more raw, a little more.
I think my favorite. I don't listen to country a lot, but I respect country a lot. I listen to country almost every day. I'm from Cleburne, but for me, like with country, I have this like thought of country that I always have to like really explain to people. But I think country and hip hop are like close cousins because they're songwriter genres. It doesn't matter what your voice sounds like, and it doesn't matter what your melodies are as long as your lyricism is good. And I think Zach Bryan excels in that. I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't like Zach Bryan as a person. I don't like Zach Bryan, his voice at all. But his writing moves me to tears.
Country's one of those things, man. Because I grew up loving like alternative rock, punk rock music, heavy rock, you know, and I think country music just kind of finds you when you're ready for. Like my dad said, he didn't listen to country until he got divorced.
Wow, yeah, dude, your dad had the divorced dad country playlist.
Yes, for sure.
Wow.
And then for me, it's like the older I got, it's like I think once you have jobs that you hate. And all these, it's like all of a sudden, and I don't mean like that kind of popular radio country. Like I think some of the best country artists right now, like Sturgill Simpson's one of them. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
I have not.
Phenomenal, man. He blends these styles. So his first several albums were more like traditional kind of like honky tonk bar country music.
Love it.
Right, and he's good. He's the real deal. And like. It was to the point where the first couple albums, I'd only heard like a bit of a song or two, and I wouldn't give it a chance because I was thinking like, oh, another one of these dudes, like Dirt Road, Cold Beer, here we go, you know?
Yeah.
And my wife was listening to it a lot, and then he'd put out an album called A Sailor's Guide to Earth, which is when he had his son, he wrote a whole album, kind of like it's like he's telling his son all the lessons and stories, like of being a man and all this kind of stuff. A lot of that, like, you know, do as I say, don't do as I've done, kind of. It's very interesting, but
wow.
He started blending sounds of like Motown into his country sound.
Love it.
It was real interesting, and I didn't know that. One of the songs I was listening to, I was like, "Damn, these are like really fucking grooves." And she's like, "Yeah, it's that Sturgill guy you don't like." I was like, "Oh shit, okay." So I wasn't giving him enough time, you know.
Yeah, I definitely am like, I don't give opinions on artists unless I've done a full deep dive, and because I'm a fan of anybody who's putting anything out. Like it doesn't, you know, if you're able to, like I just know so many people who's like friends, like so many friends' dads who are like, I could have been famous. I'm like, why weren't you? You know, and I have, but yeah, it's super. Have you ever heard of Ol 60?
Mm-mm.
Those dudes are insane.
What? This is a country band?
It's a country alternative rock. Kind of like, I have a buddy, his name is Cody, and Cody came over to my house one day, and he was like, dude, I got to show you Ol 60. And I was like, okay, cool. He's like, but they're country. I know you don't like country. I was like, I like country. I just am not going to like sit there and put on country for hours and cry about an ex that I don't have. and he's like, I got to show you Ol 60 blew my mind. Blew my mind. They're like young dudes, and I got in contact with like the producer of them. And we talked for like probably like an hour or 2 hours on the phone. He was like telling me stuff, and everything he was saying was connecting dots. He was like, yeah, some of their biggest influences are like Post Malone and like the hip hop scene. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense because it's just like it's insanely good, and they're like super popular. They have like millions of monthly listeners, and you know, but yeah, they're really.
But he's
good.
another great example, Post Malone. Like it's like now he's letting his country influence get in there and do his thing. You know?
Yeah.
I was real hesitant on him too. It's like, oh, great. He's coming in here to the country world now.
Yeah.
And then the more I saw, I was like, oh no, I think he just really likes this music. It's like, I'm on board now.
Yeah. When I called this coming in like 2016, 2017 because he's from here.
Yeah.
And
it's like what, Grapevine, right?
Yeah,
Somewhere
he's from
over there.
Brooklyn, but his dad was like the head of concessions at the Cowboy Stadium, so they moved here. And but there were, if you do the dive on him on Austin Post, there's so many videos of him doing country covers in like an American flag shirt, like a guitar, and you're like, okay, cool. Before he was Post Malone, obviously, like when he was still in high school. And then he did this one thing where he just kind of was dressed normal, and he did this like, well, I love her, but I love to fish. And I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen. And then so
which that's the stuff I hate. It's like, please don't. I will give him props though. There's this incredible country artist right now named Sierra Farrell. And she's getting famous. She's on her come up, but she's like the real deal country artist. And she's kind of strange, man. She's like she's got like weird caps on her teeth. She's got face tattoos. She like doesn't shave her armpits, but she's got the most beautiful singing country voice you've ever heard. And she plays more like traditional country, like old country. Yeah. And she has these voices that sounds like they're Disney princesses singing a song out there, you know?
Wow.
And, she wears like the big country dresses, like she's all into it. And he's bringing her on as an opener for a tour right now.
Wow.
I was like, damn, that's pretty legit because you could snag a lot. She's probably not going to move a bunch of tickets for him. She's not at that level yet. So she's about to pick up all these Post Malone fans. Like it's going to be really one-sided.
He's going to sell out.
Awesome. Yeah.
He's going to sell out wherever he goes. So it's cool that he's putting people on like that. That's super.
It reminds
sick.
you like he still likes music. That's awesome. Yeah. That's great.
He appreciates the art, you know. And that's I went and saw Lainey Wilson. I was never the biggest fan. I'd heard some of Lainey Wilson stuff, and honestly I was pretty quick to be like, nah, not my thing. But I went and saw her live. I did the by the way, if you guys are listening, I'm still wearing my chains. I'm about to flex a little bit more. I did an episode of Yellowstone, and it was a concert scene with Lainey Wilson.
You were in an episode of Yellowstone?
I was in the series finale, and it's just like me standing right next to the dude for like 5 minutes of the show. Like my phone goes off still every day of people like sending me and like tagging me and stuff where it's like Lainey Wilson, the concert. So. But I did that, and I left that, like, there's always, like, the movie magic stuff. I've done so many, like, different short films and independent films, and, I've done TV shows and stuff. But that one was crazy because every shot she did, every take, she refused to do it any other way but live. Wow. So she did live stuff. But it was, like, 5 hours of her giving these insane vocal performances. And they'd be like, cut, reset. Everybody would start resetting, and she would just talk to the crowd. Wow. Of extras. There were like 2,000 of us at Billy Bob's. And she would just like take questions or joke around. Like she treated it like with so much grace. And she's working. You know what I mean? Like that is, but at the end, they were like, okay, all 2,000 people need to leave. And she was like, if anybody's here who's a fan of mine and they're excited to see me, she was like, that was all my Abby stuff from Yellowstone. She was like, but if you guys... I know it's time for y'all to leave and go home for the day. You guys have been here for a long time, since like 5 o'clock in the morning. She was like, but anybody who wants, I'll do a quick little abbreviated mini concert of my own music if you guys would like to stay for that. And I'm not going to lie to you, dude. I went in not a fan. At first I was like, okay, act excited. I was doing this the whole time. If you watch that episode, if you watch the series finale of Yellowstone, I'm on there doing this.
Yeah. You're not doing your Lord dance that we were talking about?
No, I'm doing But by the time she said that, I was ready to go home. My feet were killing me. I was in fucking boots. I'm not a boots guy. I had sores, and I'm telling you, not a single person left.
Hell yeah.
Everybody sat. I didn't even know her music. And I sat there, and I was like, my ass is going to wait. I'm going to hear this out because she just captured everyone so well. But, yeah.
That's an important thing, though. You were saying, like, yeah, it's her job. She's getting paid. But I think that's what a lot of people forget right now. It's like, hey. Like, people are spending money for these things. People are loving it. If you are getting paid, right, and you're not feeling the best, it's like, fake it, sell it. It's so, like, just convince. I don't care if you hate being here. Just fake it to me, make me feel like you love it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to think you're incredible. It's like, because I know you
Yeah.
have bad days. Everybody has bad days.
Yeah.
But to be performing for, like you said, 4 or 5 hours for the series,
Yeah.
and then to put on a show, it's like, hell.
with a full vocal
yeah.
performance, because
That's what I'm
any
saying.
of those takes will be, and it was so consistent. And you
Yeah,
know,
and the fact that like you could have just blown out your voice right there because you were doing 5 hours for a TV series.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's tough.
And you know, it's also, to go back to Miley Cyrus, there was this video of Miley Cyrus around her like twerking and Wrecking Ball era, and she was supposed to pull up to an award show in a cop car, but the cop car, like, I can't remember what happened, but they ended up like not showing her get out of the cop car. And she was like, this is supposed to fucking happen. There's like this behind the scenes thing. And she's like so angry. She's on the verge of tears. And then she goes, fuck it. Oh my God, I can't believe that this just happened. Swings the door open, immediately is waving and taking pictures of people and looks 100%. And I'm like, whoa. And a lot of people looked at that. It's that era of her where people were just really,
Yeah.
you know. But I looked at that and I was so inspired. I was like, oh my God, she understands that when in that car, she's Miley Cyrus, but when she steps out, she's Miley Cyrus. And she understands that, like, Shawn Mendes also had this like little documentary. Shawn Mendes was having a really bad day. He was like really anxious and he was like not wanting to leave. And he was like literally crying. And then he was like, I'm so overwhelmed. I have so much going on. And he stepped outside and took a picture with every single person there. And he was so charming and charismatic. And he gets back in, he just puts his hands in his face and he's like that. And they start talking to him. They're interviewing him. And he's like, I'll do a Shawn Mendes impression because I love pulling out my Shawn Mendes impression. But he goes, every day when I wake up and I look in the mirror, I know that I'm Shawn. But when I go out, sometimes it's their one day that they get to see me and meet me, and I want to make that special. I don't know if you ever heard Shawn Mendes talk. I don't know if you've ever heard Shawn Mendes
Not
talk.
a lot, but I feel like you put everything into it. I really appreciated it.
Dude, that's years for that impression. He's like, hey everybody, it's Shawn Mendes. Hold on, I don't usually do this. I gotta pull up.
Go ahead.
I gotta pull up a video of Shawn Mendes talking.
It's a good point. Like when you're saying that, when you're doing that wonderful spot on impression,
Yeah.
it was making me think of. Did you ever watch Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
Oh, of course.
Okay, when Jerry is talking to Zach Galifianakis, and Zach's a little frustrated because people want to take pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Don't you get bothered by this?" He's like, "No." He's like, "I find life being rich and famous is infinitely better." And it's just like, no, it's good.
That's what Zach Galifianakis said?
No, that's what Jerry said to Zach.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Let me hear it. Let me hear it.
I was going through an ad anyway, so we're good.
What's up, it's Shawn Mendes, and I'm doing a Wired autocomplete interview.
Give me that same one.
What's up? It's Shawn Mendes, and today I'm doing a Wired autocomplete interview.
That's dead on.
It's pretty good.
It's dead on.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny.
The things you end up excelling at that you didn't think would ever happen.
Yeah, dude, I do so many impressions. It's ridiculous. I do like impressions of people I meet on day-to-day basis sometimes. Like I have one of my manager Blake that's probably just haunted him because it's like when it comes to like celebrities, I try to get it as close as possible, and when it comes to my friends, family, and people I'm doing impressions of, I try to be a cartoon about it. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know.
Speaking of this comedy thing, one of your fans wanted to know: are you ever going to do stand-up?
I did stand-up last year a lot.
A lot?
I did, yeah.
Around here?
I did a couple. That's how I got
Is that
in
how you
contact.
met Danny?
Yeah, I did.
okay.
I did their cult comedy night a couple times.
Is that up at where are they doing that at right now?
They were doing that at RBC, but now they're doing it RBC in Deep Ellum for those of you guys who don't know. RBC, but now they're doing it at this one place called. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking.
Is it
on
down in Deep Ellum still?
It's Deep Ellum, yeah. It's like right next to the Texas Tea House or whatever. Oh my god.
I know the area. I should know this, but I've tried to follow their stuff pretty well. But anyway.
Yeah, but I did.
Well, how did comedy go?
It was interesting. I was comedy for me. Stand up. The thought of doing stand up has been like, I feel like I was in my underwear at school and like elementary school. It makes me so nervous. It always made me so nervous.
I can't find their location. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
So it made you nervous?
Halftime, it's something like that. But it made me so nervous that like I would feel like I'm going to pass out. Mm-hmm. So I chased it until it stopped feeling like that. I don't do well with public speaking, and I'm funny conversationally, and I'm funny when I control the narrative. But when there's a crowd of people and I deal with drunk people, I'm not good at that. Like I could do that if there was no pressure, but like I'm like writing jokes and.
What if have you thought about trying it at a comedy club? Not a bar?
That's what they have been. I've only done it at comedy clubs because it's RBC's comedy night.
Yeah, but RBC is still like it's a venue, right? They still do music there, right?
Not when cult comedy is going on. It's only
No. But
tickets.
I mean, it's set up as also a music venue, right? On other nights, don't they do music?
Yeah,
RBC?
yeah.
Not on the same night. So that's what I mean. Is I think if you're going to something at a comedy specific venue with crowds who know it's because even at RBC, you might be getting people who love that venue who go there for music and are like, let's try this comedy thing.
Yeah, I did.
It might not be that same group, you know. What did you go up there with like? Set like 3 minutes of material or something? What did you
like
do?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I did like 15 minutes my first time doing comedy at East Austin Comedy Club.
That's a lot of time. 15 minutes?
It was like 10-15 minutes, I think.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah, it was East Austin Comedy Club, and that one, I'll tell you.
Well, that's a comedy club then, so you did have
that sucks more.
Really?
Well, it's because it's the Austin crowd who are like there because they're like, we have the best comedians in the world.
Yeah, and you would have been going there post like Joe Rogan and everybody moving there, right?
Oh yeah, like this was last year.
Yeah, it's a different comedy scene.
It's
now.
different. It was different. The thing with stand up, this is actually
This sounds like you're starting into a bit, by the way. The thing with stand up.
Well, the thing, Norm Macdonald. The thing with stand up, stand up comedy. The thing with stand up was, when I did stand-up comedy and I was like promoting like, hey, I'm doing a stand-up show, come by, get a ticket or whatever, and I'd promote concerts, people would come to the concerts thinking that they were stand-up comedy, but they weren't. So what I'm working on now, spoiler alert to anyone, is I'm trying to blend the two worlds and do my actual serious music and do comedy as well, and like keep it light, keep it funny, keep it goofy. But my whole thing when I started doing concerts last year, because I'd never really done concerts, I'd done like one-off shows, but I'd never done like a full concert with like merch and with like openers and with a band. Like I was always like pressing next on the computer and getting my next track in front of people. Like that's kind of what I did. But the thing was when we went to that show, we did that show for opening for Kyle Gordon. It made me realize, you can appreciate the music and do comedy too. Mm-hmm. And my thing was when I started with the music, I was like, no, I need to be taken seriously. And I kind of wanted, my ego was like, okay, now this is where I separate the two. But that's not really the answer, I don't think, because I watched Kyle Gordon absolutely murk the comedy and just I was crying laughing and then doing these comedy songs, and I left loving the songs more, and I'm like, you can do comedy, keep it light, and make the show an experience. And that's what I found out through Kyle Gordon. And so that's what I want to kind of lean into, is just kind of do more comedy oriented stuff and just blend the worlds. Less like back down from it and say, okay, here I am with, in total about 1.2 million followers on just TikTok and Instagram. Mm-hmm. So here I am with this and 10,000 monthly listeners. They're so separate that I don't think the answer would necessarily be me running away from the comedy stuff and like saying, okay, here's funny, here's the departure, but saying, here's funny, now you'll appreciate this a little bit more for what's happening in the future with my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of somebody who's done something similar. I was thinking maybe like Donald Glover. He's kind of done that.
Yeah.
Some kind of a similar where he's kind of branched out everywhere, and depending on which day you see him, you're getting different versions of things.
And the thing with Donald Glover, though, that I think makes it, because also Donald Glover even being in a conversation is like, I'm such a Donald Glover fan. Mm-hmm. The problem with Donald Glover, or not the problem with Donald Glover, but the thing that makes it, I think, a little complicated and makes it to where like,
keep going. I'm just pushing that up.
Yeah. The thing that makes it a little bit more, I think, complicated for me is Donald Glover had Childish Gambino, and I don't have that separate because I want
separate name.
I want the funny comedy shit to not have like an alias around it, and I want the music to not have an alias around it. I want those to both be me that coexist together. And
Did Bo Burnham ever put out serious music, or is he always been comedy?
Oh yeah.
I can't remember. I've only seen his larger specials. I wasn't there like in his early days.
Got it. Yeah, in the early days they weren't serious, and now like Inside has like,
I've watched Inside, but even Inside, like it's very very serious.
He has a couple sad songs on there and like deep songs. He has got it good, now get inside. What's that song? Gonna go, put your fucking hands up. All Eyes on Me. He has All Eyes on Me, and then he also has a song from the Deluxe that didn't get put on, but it's called The Chicken, and it's Why Did the Chicken Cross the Road? And it's a song about domestic abuse. And you like, in concept, it's so funny. Every time I tell it, everybody's like, "Oh, it's funny." But then you hear it, and it's like the chicken wakes up as she does every morning to the sounds of her husband's screams, and it's like, but it's this really, really beautiful and like powerful song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, he's incredible. I've always loved his work. It sounds like you're a fan of him. You've checked out stuff.
Yeah.
I think when I saw his earlier stuff where he was doing the like he was doing his special, but he didn't have like the giant light setups or anything.
Yeah.
Where he's just kind of playing on the piano over here. Then I'm going to go to the center of the stage, do something over here, come back to the piano.
He had confetti in his hand the whole time.
Yes, that one. Yeah. That's still one of my go-to bits where like I do wish I had. I'm not a comic,
confetti.
but every now and then there's somebody who talks about being dramatic or something, and you want to do that. We're like, what are you talking about? You know?
Yeah, fire.
But what sold me on his like creativity, where I was like, oh man, he's kind of on another level, was when he did that Kanye parody.
Yeah.
With the Chipotle burrito and everything.
And
Do you
then,
know what I'm talking about?
reach the hand in the can of Pringles.
Pringle can, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, they all go spilling on my face.
Yeah, that was from Make Happy, right?
Then he also had that great country cover where he's making fun of them. And,
that's not pandering.
Yeah. And that's what I was like, oh wow, so he's actually got deeper levels here. And then of course, whenever the pandemic hit, and he made that masterpiece.
Inside, yeah.
That's the only one I've watched where I was kind of grossed out. Because, you know what it is? It's a weird moment when he's doing the workout montage and he's sticking the water bottle into his belly button. I don't know why that grosses me out, but it makes me really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But a great thing. But yeah, I mean, I could see you going more that lane. He's never had an issue of trying to separate it. Yeah. But he's just kind of very masterful at weaving you from the serious back to the funny. So maybe that's the next level you got to figure out.
Totally. He has that one song where it's like, they're really going to make me vote for Joe Biden, Joe Biden. How in the fuck is the best choice, Joe Biden?
I mean, that seems kind of like somebody who you could easily, not necessarily model after, but kind of, because you started in a similar lane of your social media presence with your songwriting, joking, serious.
Yeah.
Because even his stuff where he's doing the endless infinity of video analyzing, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where he throws the box up and he's like, okay, in this video, and then it just keeps going. Yeah. Have you thought about how you're going to make your live performance? Well, you said you've been doing this for about a year live?
Yeah.
That had to be a pretty big hurdle, right? Going from just recording and releasing.
Yeah.
Because first of all, like, how did you even find the bands you want to use rather than just hit and play? Because that gets the job done, but it definitely does suck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it cool if I pee again real quick? I broke the seal. I'm so sorry. But I'm getting to a point now where I'm like, okay.
I'm going to pee on this one. Okay. You feeling better?
I'm feeling great, dude.
All right.
I'm feeling great.
You said you broke the seal. I guess you got a small bladder.
Dude,
it's all good.
I'm one of those.
I think I'm just trained from having these conversations now. I just hold.
Yeah.
But no, I was actually reaching my limit too. I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, we had a beautiful moment. We crossed streams.
It was wonderful,
we looked in each other's eyes.
I definitely feel like I know you better after that. So anyway, we were talking about live shows. You got to find a band and that whole dynamics. How did you decide? How do you get your players for these live performances?
You know, it's interesting. It started off with I wanted to do a couple of I wanted to do some shows with my buddy August, who played guitar, and just kind of do it to where we did these shows together. His dream was I want to start a band, and I was like, I don't want to start a band. I want me on the stage and maybe you doing rhythm guitar, but with my production behind, whatever. And then we did a little acoustic set, and I hate doing acoustic sets. I love doing it. I love singing the songs and stuff, and I have fun doing it. But when it's just me sitting on a bar stool, if I miss a note, you hear it. If I miss a note with a band, you don't hear it. But anyways, we had got introduced to this label called Trend. And Trend put us up with one of their shows. They're like, yeah, if you want to just come do a show, that'd be cool. So they have me just do a show, and it was Blake LaBella. And so I do it, and there I kind of get close to this guy named Liam, and Liam was like, hey, if you ever need a drummer, let me know. I was like, cool, dude, that sounds great. I'll let you know. Let's get each other's information. And I told August, I was like, dude, yeah, I mean, Liam was like, he would do drums. And he was like, dude, this is the end for you to perform with a band. And I was like, I don't want to perform with a band. So we just kind of heard him out. I went to his house and we started doing them. He'd listen to the music, so he learned the songs on drums. And then his roommate was like, yeah, I can play bass. And so we just had a rehearsal, and I felt like I was on fire. And so from then on, it's just kind of everything kind of changes. My girlfriend is now my bassist.
Okay.
Because she knows how to play like 7 instruments. And so, yeah, like the band just kind of fluctuates and changes, but now it's pretty locked in. I got Ronnie on the drums. I got Dash on the lead guitars, and he just shreds. And then I have August on the rhythm guitar and doing backing vocals, and I have Sarah on the bass. And
So how many shows have you played like with this lineup that you have right now?
this exact lineup, only 2.
Two shows.
But yeah, it was just one of those like session drummers and
Yeah.
things like that. Like the band just kind of constantly shifted and changed a good amount. But now it's like we're actually locked in. We're settled, and it's like,
Do you feel the next phase you're about to hit? Because getting the session people is good.
Yeah.
That's good. And they're always pros, right? They know what
Yeah.
they're doing. But when you get your crew that's constant,
Yeah.
you can kind of start to lock in more. Like you need to play more shows with them now,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you are. But there's going to be a new feeling on stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because it's more like when you know each other deeper.
You're going to end up writing more than you think.
Yeah.
Playing with people like this, because you're going to get to know each other so well that your shows are going to start having some natural moments that adjust and you have fun with,
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting. By the way, on shows, that was what one of the other people wanted to ask was, let me see if they said a specific area, but they're just asking about you touring. Like when are we getting on the road? When are we taking the show on the road? Yeah, any summer shows planned. That's what they're
we're planning on. Last summer we did these shows where we did. It was pretty niche. We just made our way up to Branson, Missouri, and came back. But we did.
Not where I thought you were going to say, but I love that you said Branson now.
Yeah, right.
We're going to Branson, baby.
We're going to Branson, baby. Dude, we're hitting the big leagues. Yeah, we like went. I'm wanting to expand a little bit, but it's kind of it's tough to do it with a full with the full band. But we did like Fort Worth.
Is
Oklahoma
it like
City.
just the actual finances of getting on these shows, or is it literally the logistics of all these people have lives too and we're trying to play shows?
It's definitely the financials of like, North Carolina is a place that I get the most some of the most streams from.
Mm-hmm.
We should do a show in North Carolina, but then I don't get a lot of streams. I get Florida and North Carolina. I don't get a lot of streams going up that way.
Finding the path there.
So it's like then we're in territory where we don't know anything, and it's like. So yeah, it's just tough. It's tough to like make my way up to places, but we're gonna be expanding. It's one of those things where it's like we're wanting to do Oklahoma City because Oklahoma City we had some bad luck the last time we did it when we went on tour. It was this amazing venue called Resonant Head, but it was during like a storm week. And it's so funny because I'm about to give 10 excuses on why it wasn't good.
Well, Oklahoma tornado is pretty realistic.
It's realistic,
Yeah.
yeah, but it was like storming really bad. Like
Yeah.
like the opening band was like leaving as soon as they were done. They're like, hey, we have like an hour drive and we're going to be driving through this storm. So we're like, yeah, get out of here, whatever. But yeah, it was like there was a storm. We kind of did the marketing like more like, hey guys, who wants to come to this show on the story, and we didn't like put anything toward. So it was like there was a lot of like moving pieces for it.
Yeah.
And then that day was the first like show on the road of tour, and I immediately got so sick I couldn't speak. And it was I was good in sound check, good at everything. And then as soon as the show started, I opened my mouth and it's so that sucked. I consider that the worst show I've ever done.
That's good though. You got through that. I mean, that's a step. That's a process. If you're going to be a live performer, these are the things you got to do.
Oh yeah, I've done so many There was one performance we did. It's one of my. I think about it like when I think about how great some of the performance. There was a performance we did at a CBD shop in Denton, Texas, and
This is already a great start to a show. by the
oh
way.
dude, summertime, Denton, Texas. Everybody's home for the summer, and it's this emo prom music festival thing. Well, their like main headliner or whatever pulled out last minute, and they were like, or not main headliner, whatever, and they were like, my bassist at the time was like, do you want to perform this? And I was like, sure. And like the whole thing was like, you don't have to worry about like we'll promote it, but you don't have to worry about pushing tickets because it's like it's already going to be packed. I get there, I start performing to no one, not a single person, but it's a CBD shop. So I'm doing my music and I'm performing and stuff, and I'm drunk as hell, at this point. And people are walking in to get CBD stuff, and there's just a concert going on with no one there. And so I'd be singing, eye to eye. Hi, welcome in. Thanks for coming. And then when people would start talking, I would get quiet and have like moments, and I'd be like, Yeah, we'll continue once they finish their selection, so we're not being
Wrap it up.
annoying. And then they would get it, and I'd be like, yeah, we would just go back into it. And we had so much fun just kind of breathing, like going off of each other. I didn't mean to say breeding each other.
Yeah,
but
I know what you meant.
Yeah.
There was a little breeding up there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, dude, for sure. And but by the time I'd finished my set, we had a little crowd. And I'm like, damn, that's what it's about right there. Was like these people were just kind of like walking in, and they were like, oh, okay. Sure, whatever, fuck it.
What do you think's your ideal place that you like to play in? Like, where do you, if you could pick your shows, I want to play this type of venue, this type of crowd. I want to headline, I want to open, I want to be right in the middle. What do you want to do?
I like opening because there's more, there's less pressure in the way that like, for a headlining show, I love headlining shows, obviously, and I want to perform in the big venues with the big people. But I think an ideal thing is people who are like me. Billy Marchiafava is a rapper from Chicago, and he does like comedy satire rap a little bit. But he also like you can tell he respects the craft with some of his stuff, and he leans into every song with him is a little different. But he does such funny shit, and every time he comes to Dallas, I open for him. That's like the thing now is when he comes, if he's on tour and he does a Dallas show, typically I open for him. And guys, if you see a Billy Marchiafava show and I'm not opening for him, go ahead and boycott. But I like that because it's people who like TikTok meme brain rot music, but it's also if you like TikTok meme brain rot, they'll probably know who I am. And then that's where I can sell the music because they're there for music, but they're there because they like a certain type of music, and I'm kind of in that realm. And I've noticed when I do a Billy show, the shows after translate well enough that people will come.
Okay.
And so I like that because those meme music, dude, you can say what you want about the brain rot skibbity toilet music, but when it comes down to it, dude, those motherfuckers will mosh. They go nuts. It's such a lit. It's lit. Like 26 talking about lit dude, I'm 26 years old talking about lit skibbity toilet fans. Dude, they're
and
so
that's
lit.
who we want, okay?
Dude. Yeah, that's crazy. Actually, sometimes I have moments. Like the other day I bought the skibbity toilet back bling for Fortnite, and I dressed up as Eminem on Fortnite, and then I started grittying after I killed someone, and I was like, dude, that was all unironic. I'm 26. I live at home making pop music in my parents' house.
Man. Yeah. No, you're right on track. Don't worry about it. Yeah, this is going well. Because, by the way, can I borrow money? Because you're rich, right? I heard you're very, very rich. I brought you here just to get a little gas money to tie me over till next week, all right? I got a check.
So funny.
I got a check that I had to move around. You know how it goes.
Yeah, so funny.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, man, you're at an interesting point in your career. It's really fun. You're in this new space where options are open.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting, man.
Yeah, and the gatekeeping in the music industry is like basically gone now. Labels don't have the power that they used to have. Now it's like the power is in the people's hand. But it also is like we have more music every day being uploaded to Spotify than ever in history.
Yeah.
And it's hard to kind of get like I've been trying to get into like getting my stuff on vinyl, and that's so hard to do.
Yeah.
Because that's a pretty gatekept thing. But like you'll see people who are like signed to labels and they're like, oh, and that's one of our big things is we do vinyl. And it's like, fuck you, dude.
When you feel like it's hard to get on vinyl, what do you mean? Like you want to find a label to push the vinyl or
I just don't have like vinyl records.
Oh, we could figure out how to make you vinyl records.
Dude, let's figure something
It's really
out.
just money. That's all. And you're filthy rich. So
Dude, yeah, actually that's so true. That's so true.
Well, I was going to ask you though, here, I don't know, locally, regionally, I'm so ignorant to kind of the pop music scene, right? And I come from like the bands I were in were all either like indie rock bands or punk rock bands, right?
Got it,
so
yeah.
there was all this DIY, like we're going to put on shows together and do all this. What's the local scene right now when it's like, pop bands, pop artists, whatever you're trying to work with? Are you guys putting on your own shows locally, trying to help getting people going? Are you doing regional things with other people that are kind of in your realm, or is it all isolated?
Right now it feels isolated. It feels more isolated because it's like it's tough when you have like rappers. It's easier to find like other rappers, or when you have like pop punk, it's easier to put someone with like alternative rock. But when it comes to pop, I feel like a lot of venues and a lot of like people don't really know where to place you as much.
Like, can you think of like 10 other pop artists in the DFW area that you're, we've worked together or done something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can think of...
You don't have to list them. I was just saying, like...
Yeah. I can think of a couple, but a lot of it is like... There's a guy named Trevor, and he does like kind of that pop stuff. He does like the bedroom pop, but like with intention.
So have you ever thought about snagging people like that, and maybe that's your road, like up to North Carolina?
That's
maybe
actually...
that, like, book your own little tour, do what you know how to do on the internet already, right? And then try to build... like, clearly you probably know how to use the marketing algorithms and all that stuff.
Totally.
At this point, right?
Yeah.
So could you not do a little DIY, like, okay, we're going from Cleburne to North Carolina and back?
That's actually the exact thing that we've been talking about with Trevor. With Trevor too.
You
It's
gonna
like
do it?
trying to figure that out. Yeah, we're probably going to do that run of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, and try to put something on. Because I also like one of my buddies' name is C10, and he's well known and well respected in Omaha, Nebraska. And I went out there for a show, and it was a pretty good pool for the show. And nobody really knew me or whatever. They were like mostly there for him and some of the other Omaha artists. And it was during the World Series that happens in Omaha. And it still was a pretty good pool, and it was like a great show and a lot of fun. But the thing was, like, I want to go back out there and have that, like, Omaha, Nebraska's music scene is like actually awesome. It's like,
I believe that's the home of 311, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know how much you like 311.
I don't know what 311 is.
I forget our age gap, but that's okay. 311 is an incredible band that people love to hate on, but they're awesome. They're real. They were like some of the early pioneers of like a little bit of the rap rock stuff.
Got it.
But it's not the like muscled up bravado rap rock.
Got it.
It's like stoner, having a good time, chilling out kind of rap.
Nice.
Rock.
Yeah, King Iso's from Omaha as well, the rapper. So it's like, he's one of those like rap pioneers. It's cool. Omaha is really cool. I went there expecting, like, when I told people I'm going to Omaha, they were like, why? And I was like, for a show. And they were like, oh,
Where?
Why? And it was just me and a track and, whatever. And I went there and I was like blown away by Omaha, Nebraska. And I was like, wow, it's a cool place.
Yeah, but with your experience of being from Cleburne, spending some time in LA, surely you know the power of these small towns. That they're always better than people think they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And those people are always, typically, they are more cultured and willing to experience something than a lot of people want to give them credit.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like a lot of these places that people think are like flyover cities or whatever, I think those are the spots.
Yeah.
People like you, it's like, get a couple groups with you, hit the road, hit these little spots, and just keep going like you know how to do already.
Yeah, and especially with like Cleburne, like I'm pretty well known in Cleburne. If I walk into somewhere, I know just about everybody in a lot of different places and stuff. And so it's, there's such a power behind having like a small town respect behind you or whatever,
Well, those people too, if they like your stuff, they like you for life.
Yeah.
I mean, they okay, here's what you really need to do. We need to do the Cleburne, Texas Pop Festival.
That's what, dude, you know what made me so mad? And you know what? Cleburne, you need to step up your game. They had one.
Really?
They had like a Cleburne, Texas music festival, and it was like a huge turnout. And I wasn't invited. And I got told by my barber, his name is Tank, shout out to Tank, and he was like, yo, you doing the Burne Fest? And I was like, what's the Burne Fest?
It's a good name.
Yeah, Burne Fest. And I was like, what's Burne Fest? And he was like, oh, you don't know about it? And I was like, no. And he was like, it's all the biggest artists to come out of Cleburne. He was like, why aren't you on the lineup? I was like, who the fuck is running this?
But this is what I'm talking about. So I love music, right?
Yeah.
I love all genres, most genres anyway. And I genuinely like pop music.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just either, you're ultra famous or you're unknown.
Yeah.
And so it seems like there's this void in pop music on the local level, on the regional level, and then on your like on a national level where it's like I feel like you guys are missing this step ladder.
Yeah.
Of like what can we do? And it's like, okay, y'all need to start figuring out who these other artists are that you respect and like that are on similar levels and start scheming on like, do we need to make our own labels? Do we need to make our own tours?
Yeah.
What do we need to do
Yeah.
to help this genre grow the way others have? Because if you're an independent country musician, there's like a circuit you can get on.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
And rock music isn't quite as easy, but it's better than y'all have right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
know, like, in these cities, we've got these venues. We can try to make this tour happen.
Yeah.
But for y'all, like you said, it's like a lot of venues don't really know how to place you.
Yeah.
They don't really know how to promote you that well.
Yeah.
Because y'all are all these kind of guerrilla marketers where you figured it out on your own through your own social media that you've homegrown.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like y'all got to get together and just like maybe this is where you start your label so you can get your vinyl.
Totally.
And put
Yeah, right.
Put the acts on that you like just so you can go tour and raise the money. you know?
That's what Trend also is working with is the underground pop people. But the thing with
Are you on a label right now? I didn't even ask that.
I am. I'm
Okay.
like with like a management label type thing.
Gotcha.
So there's like no sign-on bonus or whatever. And
So these
it's
are
like,
things you could do and they would still be your management.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Like if I went to a different, if I got signed to they're month to month too, and you can cancel anytime with nothing. So it's like, and so, it's cool. But
Well, what would you want from a label at this point? Like, what do you think would help the most?
probably the financial side of like production fees and mixing and stuff, because the mixing and mastering stuff is like the way I do it is like really expensive. It's like really, really pricey, and so it's like if I had help with that, I could breathe.
Yeah. The average person doesn't appreciate it's expensive.
Yeah,
You know?
and a lot of people can just hear like, oh, this song is good, but it's like, oh, but you didn't hear
Especially in your realm, right?
Yeah.
The music's always important, but like your style, people are expecting more pristine, more polished.
Yeah, and when I came back with the demos before we had it mixed and mastered, when I came back with these demos, everybody was like, release it now. I'm like, this is a demo. Like, this is like a rough cut song. And they're like, no, it's not rough. Release it. And I'm like, this is a demo. Like, if you heard it now, if you listen to any of my music and then you listen to the rough demos, like, you have to really have an ear for, okay, how can this be better? Because if you listen to it, you're like, oh, this is good. But then if you've only heard the mixed stuff and you go back to it, you're like, oh, this is rough.
Yeah.
But it's not, but it is, but it's not, but it is, but it's not.
You know, when it's really, really good, you're not always sure why it sounds so much better. But then you pull it away, you're like, it's just something's missing.
Yeah.
You know, and the average person doesn't know how to fill that in, and neither do I. But that's what great audio engineers do and great producers do.
Yeah.
You know, they have that ear. They're just like, let's do like 10 milliseconds of reverb.
Yeah,
and you're like,
dude.
How did that work?
Let's bring the latency. Yeah, dude. Shout out Rashawn, because Rashawn's been mixing my stuff, and Rashawn, you're actually in the GOAT conversation. That's insane.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like that's your move, man. You guys are already out on an island. You should just do your own thing. It's gonna be harder.
Yeah, and
gonna be a lot
it's interesting
harder.
coming from like underground hip hop to like underground pop, because underground pop, I'm so much more successful than I was with hip hop, but it's still also underground. But with hip hop, it's like, yeah, I got some rappers, we'll just toss you up with some rappers. And then with underground pop, it's like, oh yeah, you're not pulling tickets. And it's like, but you guys aren't giving me a chance here. Let's do it. Let's try something. But
Yeah.
I have less qualms about that now, because it seems that every time I turn around, there's like a really cool venue or like
That's good.
or things like that. And I'll be also honest about it. I was struggling with it before I had like a band and I had community, but as soon as I got community, it's just been fruitful as hell. Like I had formed a band in April, and by June was on tour with that band.
That's good.
So that's like my first show ever with a band was April 27th or something. And I did a show in May, and then it was a tour.
Nice.
And it was a headlining tour of my own. It was like Chandler Cooper, and it's been pretty. I'm very lucky, but I'm lucky, but at the same time, like we were talking about earlier with the whole like subconscious thoughts and stuff. I am lucky, but I've been working at it at that point for 14 years every single day. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to do shows, and now I'm on tour pretty quick. Well, I'm technically a seasoned, artist, and so I am lucky.
Yeah.
And
you're primed to be the new overnight success.
I am lucky in many ways, but also I put a shit ton of work into it, and I think that people overlook that a lot. I think people and part of it is like John Bellion, again, I'm a big fan of this guy, but he says like faking humble's a corny way to be arrogant. And I love that, dude. But like I catch myself a lot being like, just keep at it. And it's like, no, but like fucking keep at it. It took me 10 years. Like I didn't have, when I started doing videos and I was like, I bet I could go viral before I become a famous musician. I made 500 videos in a row before I got my first video with 1,000 views.
I mean, that's a lot to be said there.
Anybody would have, like, I always have this conversation.
250 videos, they'd be like, well, it's not for me.
I think for most people, 30 videos. And I've seen that too, where it's like, they're like, yeah, this, I thought I could do it, but I can't do it. And it's like, no, you can't do it because if you thought you could do it, you would have done it. And it's like, but I tell people that and they're like, ooh, I wouldn't have done that. And it's like, well, I did. And then I kept failing. And it's like, you have to have like exposure therapy to failing all the time. Like when especially doing acting, walk in there and like, they're looking at you like, what the fuck? After I just read the line, and it's because I don't look like what they originally thought I looked like or something, Yeah. So, but that's a thing with that is I'm like, I've just been so consistent and I haven't, there's like that level of, the album is about it, LOI Swim Road, I swear. But it's about like, I've had all these obstacles pop up in my life where most people go, okay, that's it. And I push through it. And so there's like, I also have this thing with the shows and stuff where I have to constantly remind myself, not constantly, but I remind myself every once in a while. I'm like, damn, I'm having a problem with something in this band, or I'm having a problem with this. But like 2 years ago, I was like, I'm just never going to be able to do a live show. Like, it's just, it's cool, but also I always have to remind myself of like, this isn't a luck thing. You've earned this.
Yeah.
Like every moment that I have, it's like, you've earned it. And that's a tough thing to say in front of, like, when I tell people I listen to my own music for fun, I'll listen to my own music for fun. I'm like, hell yeah. Hell yeah, I was low-key hitting that shit. When I hear like my old music, like when I hear my song Rent Free, all I think about was how I had just drank almost an entire bottle of Crown Apple by myself with nobody else drinking around me. And I hear it in my vocals, and the vocals are like, I like it. And I'm like, how much better would that have been if I drank half a bottle? Or like away from me, I'm drunkish. I'm drunk in all these fucking songs that are coming out. Looking for Sarah, I barely remember the first session. I have it documented, but I barely remember the first session because I'm like sitting on the couch like drunk. And so, but that's kind of the thing is I have to remind myself, I'm like, you know what, like these are things that only exist not out of luck, but because we didn't give up. Yeah. And I say we, and I'm like, who's we? It's just me. But why am I saying we? Which parts of me are, it's it. Yeah, I can go on that spiral for hours.
The stand-up comics I deal with here locally, there's a lot of them that are 10 plus years into it, and they get frustrated because it's similar things. It's like, I know what I'm doing. I know how to be funny. I can go up there and perform for an hour, and I know what I'm doing. Why is it not happening? Yeah. And a lot of these huge famous ones, it's like, yeah, man, they were like 22 years in before this hit for them.
Oh, for sure.
And it's all the stuff you're saying. It's like they thought they were really good at 10 years, and they were good at 10 years, but then between years 10 and 15 and 15 and 20, they just became so undeniably incredible. Yeah. And that's what it was, and I was trying to explain to them, it's like, you're going this artistic route. It's not like you start in the mailroom and work your way up, but if you were looking at this like a company, right? If you were thinking like, okay, eventually I want to be the CEO of, I don't know, Coca-Cola or something, whatever bullshit, right? And I want to make millions and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're probably going to start like after high school, like, okay, I got to get my bachelor's degree. It's going to be 4 years. And maybe I need to go get a little more education. So we're going to tag on an additional 2.
You got to get a master's in that, yeah.
So you're already 6-7 years in, right? And nothing's happened for you. You're still like lowest person, just started at the company. Yeah. And then you're going to work there another 5 to 10 years learning the business, hopefully, And so you're talking about being 15, 16 years in just to be like kind of middle management. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then maybe another 5 or 10 before they even get you up into that upper management, where you're finally making like big money and you've got all this bullshit you wanted. And I think people just forget that with art, that it's like, hey, there's just not that ladder to climb. Yeah. But it's going to take this long. Like you said, this started back in middle school. Yeah. It's been this many years.
And it wasn't
to learn all those mistakes. Right.
Yeah. It wasn't a hobby. It was like every day. And there are people like Post Malone, but that's such a small percentage where it's like, I'll release my first song on SoundCloud. And then he wakes up and he's like, oh my fuck, I'm the biggest star on earth.
Well, I'm sure he said many times now that, it's like, that's also a curse, right? Because it's like, oh God, I don't know if I'm prepared for this yet. Yeah. Now I've got to have a crash course on how to get prepared.
Jump in.
Yeah, and whereas, everybody's past a little different, but you're right, man. That's the key is it's like just staying at it.
Yeah.
And then when it finally comes around, that moment, it's like you're good to go.
I'm so lucky that in 10 years in, I wasn't popping. And that's the thing too. Like 2020, I was still a rapper in 2020. I was going by the alias Low Tank. And so I was like, in 2020, I was still rapping. And so I'm like, in 2021, I made Eye to Eye. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, dude, 10 years in, I'd be on a much different career course. With that project I got done to use an EP, LOL, it's because I was getting fed up and I was depressed and I was like, I have to prove myself that I can do this because I've wasted 10 years on this kind of thing. And it was that frustration, but instead of the frustration beating me down, the frustration just lit the fire under my ass. And, I am lucky for that because that could have just gone a different direction. But instead, it inspired me that I was like, I have nothing to show for this.
I think your generation too. I think because of social media and just the way you're always seeing the best versions,
Instant gratification.
Yeah, I think it puts this sense of urgency on y'all that doesn't truly exist.
Yeah,
like, well, it didn't happen yet, so it was a total waste of time, and I wasted, so I should quit. And it's like it's not really the case though. Like you said, you could be doing this for 20 years before some big break, but at year 21, if that was the break, you wouldn't be like, it was all for nothing.
Yeah.
You'd be like, this is incredible. It's just hard to think like some things just take time.
Yeah.
It just takes time.
The cool thing about it too, not the cool thing, but I've met so many social media influencers who've gotten into music for the passive income. And you don't make that much money on there, so you have to have like millions of fucking monthly listeners and stuff to get the money. But with me, the thing that I have this deep love for music and the appreciation of music, and I like am critical and analytical over like artists and stuff. Like my favorite artist of all time is Eminem because I'm like, how many people can say as soon as my flow starts, I compose art like the ghost of Mozart, most aren't, or like lose yourself. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on his sweater already, mom spaghetti. Like he's just like he's a masterclass. And so for me, if I lost all of it, if TikTok is banned, Instagram is banned, and I can no longer release my music, and you check on me in 5 years, I'll just have a room this size full of papers that are written on, or I have 5,000 notes in my notes on my phone. They're mostly songs that have never come out, and I every day I'm writing something. I wrote a full song yesterday that no one's ever gonna see, but I might go back and into that vault and be like, oh, this flow rhymes with this. And, when I work with other artists and I write for other artists and stuff, I can be like, hey, here's what I wrote yesterday. Here's what I wrote at this point. Or I'll be like, what we're trying to say, I actually wrote this a year ago. Let me go back to my notes and that's kind of how it is. So I think that's where I'm different with it too, is like if all else fails, I still have the music, nothing's going to beat me to my knees enough to where I'm going to stop using the thing that is so like, I want success more than I want my next breath, but also that success comes from my love for music. If I stopped loving music, then I'm dead, kind of thing. Not to sound emo.
Let me ask you this. Because first of all, do you ever get a little bugged that you like? It's like when I was reading a little bit about you, I was like, wow, everybody just says like, oh, this Vine guy, the TikTok guy. Yeah. It's like, do you ever get bothered that it's like coming into this pigeonholed thing? Or do you even think about it? Okay.
I don't think I've thought about it before, but not in a bad way. I'm just like, I look at that as like little, I'm so happy that I failed so much at social media and I'm able to still be in that. When I wanted to be a Viner. Now to this day, I still get called a Viner. That's cool because I wanted to do that. I didn't fail at Vine because I failed at Vine so much. I didn't fail at Vine, and I kept working through it. Being called like the TikToker and stuff, I'm like, that'll just change once I earn my flowers in the category. The same way like Viner started dying off and TikToker started. Now it's like musician. I do think about sometimes the structure of like, this guy's my favorite comedian / content creator / influencer / artist. And I'm like, oh, I think artist should have been first because that's all art. But okay,
I got you.
But I'm just, honestly, I'm so happy to have anything written about me.
So now, let's say tomorrow, for whatever reason, social media is gone.
Yeah.
what do you think is your next move? Like, yeah, you're going to write music, you're going to create it, but what do you think your move would be to get it out to someone now?
So that would be, is there another social media popping up, or social media is permanently
Let's
down?
just say there's no social media anymore.
Okay.
Let's just say we have Spotify,
Okay.
and that's it. And you're going back old school to like, I have a website.
That I would be making phone calls to every radio station that I've become connected with. And I'd say, okay, well, if nobody can find me on social media, let me do this. Or I actually started doing this one thing years ago, and I kind of stopped doing it. But I would find, like, there's KXT here. KXT is the local show for local artists. So I was fucking submitting music to other states that I wasn't in and saying I was a local artist for that stuff. And I would be doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that Motown marketing of putting up a flyer. Actually, I have flyers in my bag right now of like the Looking for Sarah Missing poster things. I have those kind of everywhere. And so like that marketing to me is fun. And it's like, I have such an appreciation for it. Probably call up those things, do that. Start working, if social media is gone, probably start working a little bit extra and put money towards ads on Spotify and getting pushed on, you can get pushed on, all types of shit through Spotify. But I think if social media died, I think Spotify would follow pretty quickly.
Yeah. I don't necessarily hate that idea, to be honest, which is crazy to say someone who's benefiting from it, to say that to you where it's working wonders for you. And it's like, it's even good for my show. It's like, that would be the goal, is to get more listeners for this too,
Yeah.
But it's like, man, I do romanticize those days where it didn't exist. And I loved locally when our radio stations were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, they're all doing the best they can, but it's a dead format.
It is.
And it's like, when you turn it on now, you're like, God, there are so many more ads than songs because they're trying to keep the station alive.
The radio station stuff kills me because, and they'll interrupt commercial-free days to talk about commercial-free and be like, and this commercial-free is brought to you by AT&T. AT&T, you can get 2 phone plans for the price of one with this. Also, AT&T is doing this, and it's like,
yeah, AT&T is providing you your commercial-free listening experience.
It's like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, I mean, that's why. That's how we got in touch. Is I'm going to start doing a little. I don't know if it's going to be like monthly or what, but I'm going to start doing a little local thing where it's not a podcast like this. We're just going to play DJ. We're just going to play songs. And
love it.
If we're only going to dip in to be like, this was this song by this person. Next up, I'm hoping maybe that'll be a little bit of fun like that, kind of like a radio thing, but. Yeah, I think about that a lot, about maybe like what should artists be doing, even because you say all those things, and it's like, well, if you thought about doing all those in combination with your social media, like do you like the idea of just going, we're going to hit every single angle? Or do you think, because we have social media, not really worth the time?
I think that's a tough question, because with social media, it makes so many dying formats that would come back to life. So like with the
I mean, right now, yeah. Do you think about like maybe I will start sending this stuff back to radio stations? Maybe all the guerrilla things you just said.
Yeah.
Or do you feel like no, social media is just the way to do it?
Social media. If you utilize social media right, you get the time on it better. But I still do have like the return on it, the return on less time put in. Because like if you can do social media, and we've actually been doing this, get like videos, like these nice videos of Funny that are like promo videos, and then submitting them. Like when we go on tour, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing snippets of me, and then we're going to put like, get tickets coming to this town or whatever, and we're going to target those ads to those areas on social media. So like when you target an area, like you want to target Oklahoma City, you target Oklahoma City and it just goes to everybody's phone. You target Oklahoma City and you're trying to get people at your show. What 21, 22-year-old that's going to listen to your music in my demographic is 18 to 23. So what 23-year-old at that point is going to be on the radio and that radio station in Oklahoma City when that's the dying thing?
Yeah, not going to happen.
Everybody's going to be on aux or listening to a podcast or listening to this. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, go ahead and comment on I'm a fan. Say, I was one of the car people. but like that's like how it is. So with it being a dying, I've found that I got really nothing in return from the radio station stuff. KXT's awesome because KXT, like it's like, it's so known for it, right? But
I feel like the only thing they have going for them, I like them. I would love for the radio stations to be thriving, but I think they're. This is just my opinion, but I think they are refusing to appreciate that it's dead, and you need to pivot into something new and change your business model.
Yeah,
and you could do it because I think one of the things that keeps KXT afloat, where it's worth it to stay with like submitting things to them, is they at least still try to do like, we'll put on this show where we feature these performers and those things.
They have it down.
Yeah, they've got a system where it's kind of worth being like the radio's kind of the least part I'm concerned with.
Totally.
They do all these other things that are great for artists.
Totally.
But it's a shame because it's like they have their local show that they do on Thursdays. But like you said, how many people really click over on a Thursday and check it out?
Totally.
I've got to remember at 8 o'clock or whatever time it is. I got, okay, right now. And like, I don't have a radio in my house anymore or anything. So it's like, okay, I'm going to be in my car at that time.
Yeah, when they played my song for the first time, I had to go sit in my garage, turn the car on, and listen because we didn't have a radio.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I would like for, at least here in Dallas anyway, because we had a great era of radio stations when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And it's like, I would love if they could just pivot that model of like how they bring in money. They need somebody creative to go, okay, it's dead.
It's dead, guys.
It's dead. Let's revive it. Let's rebuild it, because there's still a lot of people here that care about artistic values and music.
Yeah.
There's people here who can channel this into something interesting.
Totally.
I think KXT's PBS, so they don't really have like those corporate overlords or anything, but who knows?
I didn't even know that they're PBS.
I think they are. I think they're part of KERA, which is all part of
Wow.
PBS, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it's the, because they do, maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know. Someone right now is like, you're wrong. You're wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I thought what's NPR on here? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the last time I clicked over to a radio station.
I listened to Tiny Desk. NPR got it down because of the Tiny Desk stuff.
Yeah. Well, dude, I've taken up enough of your time, man. I really appreciate you taking the drive down here.
Dude, I appreciate being part of it, man.
What do you want people to know? What's coming up? This will be out in about 2 weeks.
Oh, cool. Man, I don't have anything. I got my album's coming out. LOL, I Swim Real Good, I Swear It. If you've gotten this far, you've already heard about it. You've heard about the story behind some of my songs. I don't really have anything. Do the dive if you want to. I'm just happy to get to talk about myself for a little bit.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. It was great.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.